So here I am, standing in a field like an absolute clown, forced to watch the ancient Chinese equivalent of a government-mandated dating show. Alright, let's rewind for a second. My name's Yue. Literally yesterday I was just a stressed-out med student, surviving on back-to-back all-nighters and sketchy instant ramen. But today, I'm a dirt-poor, backwater herbalist in some ancient realm called the Yongxing dynasty. And get this, brutal wars completely decimated the male population here, meaning the imperial government straight up forces you into marriage. The moment you hit 18, if you haven't locked down a partner, they haul in a massive lineup of bachelorettes and tell you, pick your poison, buddy. It's wild, an actual, literal wife buffet. Suddenly, the official convoy rolls up with the ladies, and my jaw instantly hits the floor. Standing right there are two sisters, Jiang Zi and Jiang Xiaowu. The older sister has this insane, snatched waist, a drop-dead gorgeous face, and skin so flawless it looks photoshopped. The younger one is a pocket-sized firecracker with fierce, killer eyes, and lips stained like fresh cherries. Honestly, they look like pure angels, who took a wrong turn on the way to paradise, and accidentally spawned right into this absolute slum of a village. But here's the mind-bending twist that broke my brain. Literally nobody wants them. The local village dudes are aggressively throwing hands over women, who are built like absolute brick houses. They're shouting, "Damn! Look at those thick legs. She'll plow the fields all day." Or, "Check out that massive chest. Our future kids are eating good." Meanwhile, these two literal supermodels are just left standing there, like the last two high-end donuts, that nobody picks because they look way too fancy. Turns out, their dad was a high-ranking government official, who got busted cooking the royal books, so the entire family lineage got completely wrecked. Worse yet, the sisters come as a mandatory package deal. If you choose the older sister, the spicy little sibling tags along completely free of charge. An absolute buy one get one free deal. Yet these clueless peasants are treating it like a toxic curse. Next up, we draw straws to see who picks first. The village cripple lands the first pick. The village idiot secures the second slot, and I'm stuck with third. The cripple instantly snags the burly, farm-ready chick, while the village idiot locks down the big-chested lady. The whole crowd erupts into cheers, acting like these two dudes just won the Mega Millions lottery. Alright, my turn. I point straight at the absolute goddess in the crowd and lock it in. The entire place goes dead silent. You'd think I just volunteered to drink poison. But right then, Z drops to her knees, sobbing tears of pure relief. As she starts thanking me, the truth comes out. Turns out, they've been rejected by literally every single village on the tour. If they got rejected one more time, she was going to be sold off to the red light district. And her little sister was going right with her. So basically, I just rescued two literal princesses from absolute hell, by doing exactly what any guy with a functioning pulse would have done. But the little sister, Xiao, just mutters disgusting creep under her breath before bowing. Yeah, love you too, sweetie. The other guys in the village actually thank me for taking the massive burden off their hands, calling me a saint and a hero. You're a lifesaver, bro. Oh yeah, real sacrifice on my part, fellas. Two drop-dead gorgeous girls? Absolute nightmare. However will I survive? Meanwhile, my neighbors start losing their minds. You're gonna bring a curse. Pick a girl who actually works. You can barely even feed yourself. Now you've got two extra mouths to feed. I put on my most serious main character face and deliver the line. My mind is made up. Just watch. Marrying them isn't going to bring us ruin. It's going to bring us absolute fortune. They all just laugh in my face, calling me the local village clown, which honestly is fair. Around here, I'm part of the legendary local trio, the village idiot, the town cripple, and yours truly, the literal Three Stooges of Beast Ridge. So, I grab my beautiful new wife's hand, with my bonus sister-in-law trailing behind us, practically burning holes in the back of my head with her eyes, and march them right back to my sad, crumbling little straw hut. But the exact second we step through that door, things get interesting real fast. We walk into my house, and I am using the word house very, very loosely here, because it's basically a glorified shack that a stiff breeze could blow to the ground. But then, out of nowhere, Z suddenly reaches deep down into her waistband. Now, before your minds go to the gutter, chill. She was actually pulling out a secret, tightly wrapped cloth bundle. She glances over at me, trying to make sure I'm not watching, and stuffed it back. Super suspicious, but I had way bigger problems to deal with. Because out of nowhere, She literally threw herself onto the floor in front of me. Please, husband. Don't beat my sister. If you have to hurt someone, hit me instead. I'm just standing there like, bro, what? Then, little Xiao Wu balls up her tiny fists, like a feral kitten and screams, you lay a finger on my sister, and I'll fight you. These two are ready to go to war, and I haven't even sat down yet. Turns out, the matchmaker told them that husbands always beat their new wives on day one, just to establish dominance. Like, what kind of psycho medieval tradition is that? I told them, look, in this house, wives are meant to be cherished, not abused. They both just stared at me like I'd claimed. The sky is neon green. I literally had to raise my hand and swear a whole oath. Before they'd calm down even a little. Cue the awkward silence. No one knows what to do. I've never been married. She's never been married. And the little sister. Looks like she wants to assassinate me with her eyes. What a fantastic start to family life, right? But then Xiao Wu suddenly goes pale as a ghost. And drops to the floor like a sack of bricks. She's covered in cold sweat, shivering, the whole 9 yards. Z is totally freaking out. Her illness is back. Is it fatal? I quickly check her symptoms. And thank God for my past life's medical school training. It's literally just low blood sugar. The poor girl hasn't had a proper meal in God knows how long. It's called hypoglycemia, I said. Hypo what? Is that a death sentence? Right, ancient China. No WebMD here. It's just a minor issue. I corrected myself. I'm a doctor. I can easily fix this. Meanwhile, Xiao Wu is literally trembling on the floor, but she's still trying to act tough. I am not scared, sis. Man, this kid has the survival instincts of a chihuahua. Trying to fight a grizzly bear. Respect. Hearing this, Z starts begging me again, promising to work like a literal slave if I just save her sister. Ma'am, please stop bowing. You're going to break my floorboards at this rate. Which, let's be real, is a pretty low bar, considering my floor is literally made of dirt. I told them to hold tight, and bolted straight for the mountain, right behind my shack. See, I had a plan. A totally unhinged, brilliant plan. The original owner of this body had spotted a massive beehive up on Wulong Mountain. And what does a starving girl crashing from low blood sugar need? Glucose. And where do we get glucose? Honey. The only thing standing between me and that sweet nectar? Roughly 10,000 incredibly pissed off bees. No big deal. I'm literally a medical prodigy from the future. I tracked down some wild foxglove, which is packed with compounds that absolutely wreck an insect's nervous system. I pulverized the leaves, funneled the toxic juice into a hollow reed, and boom. I just invented the ancient Chinese equivalent of a bug bomb. I charged straight under the hive, waving my makeshift chemical weapon like a madman. The swarm lost its absolute mind and swarmed after me. I hauled tail for 100 meters, chucked the reed into a bush, grabbed a heavy branch I'd prepped earlier and doubled back, while the bees were busy buzzing around confused. In the completely wrong direction, I gave it one clean swing. The hive fell, I snatched it up, and ran for my life. I burst back into my shack and slammed the door shut. So there I was, absolutely drenched in sweat, gasping for air, holding a giant, dripping beehive, and looking like a total psychopath. Talk about a romantic first impression for my new wife. I ripped off a massive chunk of honeycomb, and brought it right to Xiao Wu's lips. But her sister, Zay, grabbed my wrist. Wait, is that actually edible? She'd never even seen honey before. Imagine being the daughter of a high-ranking official, and never tasting honey. This historical era is straight up wild. Let me try it first, she pleaded. Terrified I was about to accidentally poison her little sister, I just shoved the golden honeycomb into her mouth. It's sweet. She stared at me like I had just performed some high-level sorcery. We can really eat this? Ooh, yeah, Mom. Humans have been eating this stuff for 10,000 years. But sure, let's treat it like a miracle. I fed Xiao Wu a bite, and as she slowly chewed, I watched her face flush from deathly pale to a healthy pink. In real time, the Ice Queen's eyes softened for literally a split second, before she immediately snapped back into character.
Sis, she, im totally fina.
Turns out his medical skills are actually slightly useful. Slightly? Bro, I just pull off a high IQ beehive heist using ancient botany, and all I get is a slightly useful? I swear, this girl is trying to send me to an early grave. Anyway, I told her if she eats 2 pieces of this a day, Her entire condition will literally be cured. And look at that. She actually got excited. That's the first genuine emotion I've ever seen from her. That wasn't pure rage or straight-up disgust. Hey, I'll take the progress. But then, Z finally takes a good look around my place. One tiny bed, absolutely zero furniture, and sitting right there on the table, leftover tree bark. Yep, you heard that right. My last meal was literally wood. I could physically see the soul leaving her body, as she recalculated her entire life choices. Like, great. I'm married to the village idiot, living in a ragged shack, eating trees for dinner. And right on cue, she quietly slips her hand back down her waistband. Again? Okay, seriously, what kind of secret weapon is she hiding down there? But once again Z chickened out, and didn't pull out whatever was in her clothes. This mystery is going to live rent-free in my head forever. Honestly though, I completely lost my train of thought, because standing between these two stunning sisters, my brain just completely short-circuited. See, in my past life I was so drowned in medical studies, and desperately trying to escape poverty, that I had never even held a girl's hand before. My entire romantic experience consisted of, 10 gigabytes of educational research material, saved on my hard drive. We're talking pure theory here, absolutely zero field experience. And now, I've got two absolute baddie goddesses, standing inside my absolute wreck of a shack, smelling like literal flowers. Before I knew it, I started drifting toward Z like a total zombie. My hands literally moved on autopilot, reaching straight for her face. She instantly jumped back like I was a poisonous snake, her face turning into a bright red tomato. Abort. Abort mission immediately. Right, note to self. Ancient girls are super conservative. Maybe let's not try to touch her face on day one. Just 5 minutes after meeting her, and I'm already looking like an absolute creep. After the 400th awkward silence of the day, she finally broke the ice. Husband, let me go forage some wild veggies for dinner. Foraging weeds for dinner? On our wedding night? Absolutely not. My pride from 2 whole lifetimes would never allow it. I'm a literal med school graduate, and a former military serviceman. If I let my brand new family eat literal grass and bark, modern education takes a massive L. We're eating fresh fish tonight, I declared, strutting out of the house like a total boss. But right behind me, I heard her sister whisper, "Sis, is that skinny-ass twig seriously gonna catch us a fish? Oh, laugh it up, you little spitfire." While the sisters stayed back to clean up my absolute disaster of a house, they decided to go forage anyway. Honestly, smart move on their part. They had zero reason to trust my non-existent fishing skills. But it turns out even the wild greens around this village were completely wiped out. The starving locals had stripped the trees bare of bark. Luckily, Auntie Wong took pity and tossed them a basket of greens, warning them that the nearby mountain is crawling with wolves, and the local stream is full of deadly whirlpools. Turns out no one in the village is brave enough to fish there. Nobody, except for yours truly. First, I secured a bow and arrow from the blacksmiths. Smokin' hot daughter, iron linger. Then, I headed to the water armed with my secret weapons, calamus root and smartweed. You see, in modern pharmacology, extracts from these two plants absolutely wreck the nervous system of aquatic life. We're talking a 100% natural fish bomb. I managed to find the ultimate honey hole, a calm river bend packed with thick aquatic weeds. High oxygen, maximum shelter, absolute fish paradise. I grabbed some heavy rocks and pulverized the plants, being super careful because this smartweed is literally hotter than ghost peppers. Back in modern rural China, they call this stuff yeast grass. And trust me, it is no joke. I wrapped the toxic mush in waxy, waterproof taro leaves, secured the bundle with vines, and chucked it right into the deep end. Now we play the waiting game. Slowly, the water turned a murky, reddish-green, and then absolute chaos. The fish started completely losing their minds, and tons of plump, palm-sized carp began floating to the top. We're talking massive, thick-ass carp, and one absolute unit of a grass carp as thick as my thigh. They were all thrashing and swimming in chaotic circles, looking like they'd just swallowed the world's hottest ghost pepper. So I tied a makeshift vine to an arrow, strapped the other end tightly to my wrist, drew back the bow and thwack, nailed that monster grass carp dead center. It thrashed wild for a second, flipped belly up, and I reeled that bad boy right to the shore. Next, I aimed straight at a cluster of panicking fish. swarming near the surface and let another shot fly. Talk about a trick shot. 1 arrow, 3 fish, 2 crucian carp and another fat carp, all skewered together like a giant shish kebab. I literally screamed, "I'm gonna be rich," at the top of my lungs. Unsurprisingly, the river didn't hit me back. Meanwhile, back at the house, Xiao was standing outside with her arms crossed, gossiping. "Yeah, he's totally capping. Sis, there's 0 chance he actually caught anything." But then she saw me flexing up the path, hauling a fish that was literally bigger than her entire leg. "That thing is thicker than both of my thighs combined," she shrieked. And I was like, "You're damn right. See that? Little Miss Slightly Useful? Your man just went full-blown caveman provider mode." Now here's where I played 4D chess. I gifted one of the crucian carp to Annie Wong. She'd been keeping the original E alive, out of sheer kindness for literal years. Gave another to Iron Linger as rent for borrowing the bow. And that huge, juicy carp? Sent it straight to the village chief. Gotta secure those political connections. Baby, networking isn't just a modern world cheat code. That left me with only the monstrous grass carp. But honestly, that beast alone could feed us for days. The second I stepped inside, Z came rushing out to greet me, with the brightest, most genuine smile I'd ever seen on her face. She eagerly tried to carry the haul, but the sheer weight of it was too much for her to handle. She quickly brought me a chair, poured me a cup of water, and treated me like a hero returning victorious from war. Even Xiao was looking at me with a brand new light in her eyes. It wasn't exactly warmth, but more like the way a suspicious cat stares at you when it's realizing you might actually be worth keeping around. "Hey, I'll take it." And then, riding a massive wave of pure adrenaline and absolute caveman confidence, my hand literally moved on autopilot straight for Z's butt. The second I made contact, she jolted like she just touched a live wire, her entire face turning instant cherry red. She immediately darted her eyes toward Xiao, making sure that little gremlin didn't catch us in the act. Luckily for me, she was completely oblivious. Taking a look around, I realized these two had completely revolutionized my absolute dumpster fire of a house while I was out. The place was actually sparkling clean. Honestly, I didn't even know it was capable of being clean. I genuinely thought the layers of dirt were load-bearing. When I explained my genius fishing method, using local herbs to totally scramble the fish's nervous systems, Xiao just crossed her arms and hit me with a, "Yeah, right? Since when can basic weeds scare fish out of the water?" Z immediately elbowed her, whispering, "Hey, show some respect to your brother. He literally just cured your fatal disease an hour ago." Xiao opened her mouth to argue, paused, and just muttered a defeated, "Fine." Even she realized she was seriously running low on SAS credits for the day. Z started prepping the fish, and when I reached in to help, our hands accidentally brushed against each other. She recoiled like she'd been hit by lightning, curling up into a tight ball of pure embarrassment, her face so incredibly flushed it could stop traffic. Man, I wanted to kiss her right then and there. Meanwhile, Xiao was giggling from the corner. "Oh, look at you two. Big sis, brother-in-law. What are you guys even doing? Just kill me now." When dinner was served, the aroma was absolutely heavenly. But the moment we sat down, I saw something that completely ripped my heart out. Both sisters were literally chewing on dry tree bark, leaving every single bite of the actual fish for me. "Wait, why aren't you guys eating the fish?" "Oh, we actually prefer tree bark. You need the protein, husband. Seriously, don't mind us, we love this stuff. Like, come on. Nobody loves tree bark. Tree bark is the depressing survival food you eat when you've completely given up on life." So, I immediately slammed massive chunks of fish into both of their bowls. "Eat up." But they immediately tried to transfer it back to mine. "Alright, time to deploy the nuclear option. This is a direct order. Eat the fish right now, or I'm getting the discipline stick out." Z's eyes immediately welled up with tears, and they both finally started eating, sobbing through every single bite. This was their first legit meal in over a year, ever since their family got absolutely destroyed. See, meat is basically a luxury cheat code during wartime. Most commoners are lucky to taste it once a year, during New Year's. And right on cue, Z's hand slips back into her underwear, clutching that mystery package again. "Girl, what is actually in there? The suspense is literally killing me." After dinner, she cleaned up and asked me about a guy named Xiaoman. Apparently, while I was out fishing, this local village bully rolled up to my house and demanded my wife come pay him a visit. Z tried to play it cool, but Xiao Wu immediately spilled the tea. She blurted out that he wanted her sister sent over to him, before Z cut her off. I didn't push it right then, but I definitely locked that name away in my mind with a massive red flag next to it. Look, bully me all you want, I'm completely used to it, but sniffing around my wife? Yeah, you just made my hit list, buddy. Suddenly, a shadow bounced through the doorway, giving both sisters a near-fatal jump scare. But it was just Iron Linger, the blacksmith's daughter. She had a tiny, adorable baby face, but she was built like she was smuggling 2 massive cantaloupes under her shirt. It was incredibly distracting whenever she bounced around, which she did constantly. She brought over my bow, completely upgraded, based on some casual suggestions I'd made earlier. She added a custom notch to stabilize the arrow, and even a sight ring for laser-like accuracy. This girl was basically an ancient weapons engineer, rocking cute pigtails. I stepped outside, and test-fired a few shots straight into a mulberry tree. Thunk, thunk, thunk. Every single shot hit dead center. Those 2 years of mandatory military service in my past life were finally paying massive dividends. Baby, oh my gosh, your archery is insane. Linger squealed. Z and Xiao Wu just stared, jaw-dropped, in sheer shock. Even little Miss Slightly Useful couldn't deny the talent. Sis, brother-in-law's aim is actually god tier. From slightly useful to actually god tier? Now that is what I call some elite character development. I tried to pay her, but she just laughed me off, declared the bow was payment for the fish and bounced. And I mean literally bounced. I watched, purely for scientific research. Anyway, I kept practicing, and every single arrow hit its mark. Honestly, I was feeling like some ancient Chinese Robin Hood. Meanwhile, the sisters were checking out the bow, their eyes sparkling with pure curiosity. Life was good. But then that voice ruined the vibe. Hey, deadbeat. I told you to send your wife over to my place for a few days. Where is she? I whipped around, and there stood Gelman. The dude was built like a straight-up gorilla, his face covered in nasty knife scars. He was practically drooling while staring daggers at my wife, and hanging from his belt was a terrifyingly sharp, very real sickle. This was the notorious village bully, the guy who'd been shaking down the old E-way for protection money. For literal years. Same scary fit, same trash attitude. Z and Xiao grabbed each other and instantly scrambled behind me. But you know what? I was done talking. I drew the bow, released, and the arrow slammed straight into his leg. Aya! He stared down at the arrow protruding from his thigh, then looked up at me, then back down at the arrow. His brain was completely short-circuiting, like the wimpy nerd, who used to hand over his lunch money without a fight. Just shot him. You little punk. You actually dared? He unsheathed his sickle and started limping furiously toward me. I'm gonna chop you into pieces. I took a step back, and my back pressed into something incredibly soft. Actually, 2 very soft somethings. Z was standing directly behind me, and I had basically just reverse motorboat her with my shoulder blades. Seriously, brain, terrible timing for that observation. There is literally a maniac with a sickle hobbling at us. Focus. I glanced back and saw Xiao Wu clutching her chest, wearing this totally bewildered expression. Yep, my back had definitely squished right into her. My bad, kid. But no time to apologize, because Psycho Sickle Man was still closing in. I whipped back around, drew another arrow, and let it fly. Thwack! Right into his wrist. The sickle slipped right out of his grip, bounced hard off his foot, and the sharp tip sliced clean through his big toenail. On the way down, dang, 3 critical hits with 1 arrow. I'm not even trying to be this overpowered. And just like that, Xiaoman hit the deck, squealing like a literal pig at a slaughterhouse, rolling around desperately in the dirt. Then this absolute genius starts screaming for backup. Help! Someone help me! He's trying to murder me! Suddenly, villagers came flooding in from every direction. My wives looked absolutely terrified. Z was shaking, panicking that they were gonna lock him up. But Xiao Wu just glared at the bully, muttering, "They wouldn't dare. That's my girl." Already learning from her brother-in-law. The village chief finally pulls up, asking, "Yo, what the hell happened?" Our boy immediately went into full victim mode. He jumped me for absolutely no reason. Tie his ass up and throw him in prison. Now here's the real kicker. Literally everyone in this village despises this dude. He's been terrorizing the whole neighborhood for years. But I knew I had to play this smart. The oldie way was a total doormat. If I just stood there calmly trying to explain myself, people might not believe I actually had a legit reason. So I went full psycho mode. I let my face twitch with pure rage, popped my eyes out, and screamed, "Xiao Man, you piece of trash. I've had enough. You've bullied me for years. And now you're trying to violate my wife and her sister. I'm ending you today. An eye for an eye. Let's go." I aimed the arrow dead center, right between his eyes. Everyone instantly panicked. The chief lunged and grabbed my arm, and the villagers literally dogpiled me, yelling, "Don't do it! They'll execute you for this. Think about your wives." Even the local idiot and the cripple, aka my boys from the Three Stooges squad, were desperately clamping down on my legs. Z dropped straight to her knees, sobbing, "Husband, please don't. We can't survive without you." Even Xiao Wu was hysterical, screaming, "Brother-in-law, stop. What's gonna happen to us if you die?" Honestly, absolute Oscar-winning performance from me. Because on the inside, I was completely chill doing the mental math on exactly how much loot I could squeeze out of this buffoon. Meanwhile, Mon was visibly shook. His entire game plan was that I'd wet my pants and just hand my wife over out of fear. Instead, I turned into a straight-up maniac pointing a deadly arrow at his face. His brain was completely short-circuiting. The chief was sweating bullets, shouting, "Quick! Turns out! Make Xiao Manhuan get on his knees and beg." At first, nobody wanted to cross the village bully, but eventually the chief himself took action, dragging Manhuan down to his knees right in front of me. But I kept my psycho face on. A simple apology? Not gonna cut it. There's no way I'm letting this slide. Make him grovel in the dirt, right now. So the chief ordered the villagers to slam Manhuan's face straight into the ground. Bam, bam, bam. And I'm just standing there thinking, damn, buddy, I haven't even started yet, and you're already kissing the dirt. This is way too easy. Time to make them pay up. Fine y growled. For the emotional trauma caused to my wife and sister-in-law. He owes us a whole goose, 2 silver coins, a bushel of rice, 2 bushels of flour, and 5 baskets of fresh wild greens. Complete and utter silence. Everyone's jaw literally hit the floor. First, they hear I hauled in a massive catch today, and now I'm shaking down the local gang leader, like some medieval mafia don. The quiet, harmless nerd had transformed into an absolute beast. Literally overnight. Manhuan scrambled to his feet, absolutely livid. That's extortion. Without saying a single word, I drew back my bow, and whoosh! The arrow sliced right past his cheek, close enough to give him a free shave. His face went pale, his knees buckled, and this supposedly terrifying, scarred bully literally pissed his pants. Right there in front of the entire village. A literal puddle formed. It was absolute poetry. I casually notched another arrow. Okay. I'll pay. I'll pay whatever you want. The idiot and his limping sidekick bolted to his house and dragged back the entire haul. The goose, the rice, the flour, and the greens. They even dug up the silver coins right out of his pockets. Honestly, it was all stuff he'd stolen from other villagers anyway. So really, I was just redistributing the wealth. Call me the local Robin Hood. The chief then told me to let him go, but I frowned. And what if he comes back for revenge? The chief turned to the gathered crowd and declared, "If Xiao Manhuan ever breathes in the direction of Yuewei's family again, Yuewei has full permission to put an arrow through his skull." The entire village was ready to swear it was total self-defense. They were all down to sign as witnesses, ink-stamped fingerprints and everything. From the village idiot Old Wong to the local cripple, every single soul volunteered. They were just so hyped watching their worst bully get completely humiliated that they basically formed my personal elite legal defense team. Right on the spot. Man who was literally shaking with pure rage. But what could he even do? It was the whole village against him. With bloody arrow wounds in his leg and wrist, a missing toenail, and pants completely soaked in his own pee, I went from the village punching bag to an absolute local hero. In a single afternoon. And all because I married 2 so-called worthless women. That nobody else wanted, caught a massive fish. No one else dared to hunt. And absolutely wrecked a tyrant nobody had the guts to stand up to. Honestly, not a bad start for day 1. Xiao Man, who finally agreed to behave, limped away, supported by the village idiot and the cripple, while I officially became an overnight legend. Since when did the town dummy get this freaking tough? Is that even the same guy? Watching man who get absolutely destroyed was easily the absolute highlight of my year. Just then, Erlinger came bouncing over, literally skipping with her eyes completely full of hero worship. Oh my god, you're so cool. You just got married and instantly transformed into a legendary warrior. PFF, that was nothing, I replied, trying my absolute best to play it casual, while my ego inflated to the size of a massive hot air balloon. But then she warned me that her sister-in-law had just spotted bloodthirsty, red-eyed wolves from Devil Mountain, lurking nearby.
Man-eating, venomous wolves?
Great. Just what I needed, another deadly threat to add to the endless list of things. Actively trying to end my life in this ancient dynasty. Back inside, Sueshi immediately burst into tears and dropped to the floor again, sobbing, "We've brought you nothing but absolute chaos." Even little Xiaohe knelt right down beside her. Seeing the ultimate ice queen voluntarily drop to her knees, yeah, that's when I knew today had been an absolute fever dream. I quickly pulled them both back up. Listen, you're my family now. And protecting his family is exactly what a real man does. That's when Sueshi finally reached deep into her bodice and pulled out that mysterious secret package. It was cold, hard cash, a tiny cloth bundle, still radiating the warmth of her body heat. Honestly, let's not even ask where she was keeping this stashed. Inside was a pile of about 100 copper coins. Literally their entire life savings. The absolute last cent these two former rich girls had left, after their entire family was completely wiped out. "Please, take this as my dowry," she said, looking deadly serious and formal. Bro, my heart straight up shattered right there. These poor girls had been starving on the streets, getting kicked out of village after village, nearly getting sold off to a brothel, all while secretly guarding their final pennies. And yes, she'd been hiding them in her underwear this whole time. And now she was offering everything to me, some random guy she literally just met today. I tried to push it back. Like, I just shake down local bullies for quick cash. I don't need this. But both sisters instantly dropped to their knees again. "Please, you have to accept it, or we'll feel completely useless." Xiao chimed in. "Yeah, just take it. If we need money later, we'll just ask you for it." Now that is a smart girl. Already plotting future unlimited withdrawals from the Bank of YW. I took the coins before I started ugly crying, right in front of my brand new family, and gently wiped the tears from Z's face. She blushed bright red but didn't pull away. Look at that progress. Yesterday, she flinched if I even breathed in her direction. Today she's actually letting me touch her face. At this rate, we might actually hold hands by next month. But then my intrusive thoughts kicked in. If she's blushing this hard just from a cheek touch, imagine how she'd react if I touched her somewhere else. "Focus, YW. Keep it together." She anxiously asked what we do if that thug manhwa came back. I assured them that guy is a total toothless tiger right now. And before he even recovers, I'll become so ridiculously strong he won't ever dare to cross us. Not now, not ever. But then, Z hit me with the most absolute ride-or-die line of all time. "Husband, buy us both bows. My sister and I will train day and night, so we can fight right alongside you next time." Bro, this woman, this absolute queen, she was a pampered, high-born princess, with skin as delicate as porcelain, who probably never lifted anything heavier than a teacup in her life. And yet, she wants to learn archery just to protect our home. I couldn't help myself. I cupped her face and planted a kiss on her forehead. Just a giant mwah. Right there. And my adorable new wifey completely froze. She instantly turtled up, burying her face. Her cheeks went absolutely nuclear red. Xiao was completely caught between pure shock and a giggling fit, while Z looked like she wanted to literally evaporate. "Stop laughing," she squeaked. Honestly, I couldn't believe I actually pulled that off either. But man, she smelled absolutely heavenly. To break the tension, I told them I was heading to Chao County tomorrow for a massive shopping spree. Because let's be real, she basically brought a whole dowry to this marriage, while I hadn't given her a single thing. No bride price, no gifts, absolutely nothing. With my modern mindset, that was just unacceptable. So, I was gonna use that thug's stolen silver to buy them gifts. Using bully money to spoil my new family? Zero regrets. Flustered, Z scurried off to go make the bed, her face still burning. Meanwhile, I grabbed a charcoal pencil and started sketching out my master plans on scrap paper. 2 lifetimes of memories and knowledge were colliding. Inside my brain, advanced medical knowledge, survival hacks, and genius business ideas were popping off like crazy. I scribbled it all down before it could slip away. Across the room, the sisters were whisper gossiping. "Hey, is it just me? Or is brother-in-law actually kinda hot?" Xiao whispered. "He's definitely different from other guys." Z murmured back. "Hold up. They think I'm handsome? Me? The village idiot? The guy who was eating literal tree bark yesterday? The literal bottom of the social food chain? Handsome? Yep, easily the best day of both my lives combined." Eventually, exhaustion caught up with me, and I went to crash on the floor. We had one bed and 3 people. The only gentlemanly move was for me to take the floor. But Z immediately marched over. "The floor is freezing," she insisted. "You can't sleep there." "I'll be fine," I replied. "Wherever you sleep, I sleep," she said softly, but with absolute non-negotiable authority. Wow, this girl, who couldn't even look me in the eye 3 hours ago, was now straight up demanding to share a bed. She glanced at Xiao. "My sister. She's afraid of the dark. She literally can't sleep without me." She blurted it out, but it was obvious code for, "We haven't spent a single night apart since our lives completely shattered, and we aren't starting now." Hearing that, my heart warmed up so fast. Could have heated this entire drafty shack. Without a second thought, I grabbed both of them and pulled them in, for a massive, genuine bear hug, just squishing both of them tight against my chest. "Ah, hubby." Z squeaked after a second. "What are you doing?" Xiao Wu's face instantly flushed redder than a sunset, trying to sound tough but coming off absolutely adorable. So, I finally let them go, grabbed their hands and led them straight to the bed. "Come on, we'll squeeze in together." Q3 people crammed onto one tiny bed. Now Z had braced herself for this, but she was still laying there stiff as a board. Meanwhile, Xiao was practically vibrating with nervous energy. As we finally settled in, Z noticed my hand resting right on her waistband. It was warm, perfectly still. She held her breath, and then my hand moved. Yep, I actually made a move, but then I glanced over at Xiao Wu, just chilling on the other side of the bed, and thought, yeah, nope, can't exactly enjoy a wedding night with my sister-in-law, staring right at us. So I pulled my hand back, easily the hardest thing I've done in 2 lifetimes. The bed was seriously microscopic, leaving the 3 of us packed together like sardines. But honestly, it was the comfiest sleep I've ever had in both of my lives. First time ever sleeping next to a beautiful girl. And not just one, but 2 gorgeous women. Honestly, the universe absolutely owed me this. After 18 years of zero romantic contact in my past life, and a hard drive full of educational research, Z noticed I didn't try any funny business in the dark, and finally let her guard down. Even Xiao Wu, weirdly enough, felt totally safe with me there. The same girl who wanted to throw hands 12 hours ago, now felt protected by me. Mental note, build a bigger bed ASAP. When morning finally came, I woke up early, prepped that goose I extorted from Meng Hu. Appreciate the free poultry, buddy. Then, I headed to Linger's shop to grab a second bow, gifting one to each of the sisters. Practice your aim today, and whatever you do, don't go up the mountain. If wolves show up, lock yourselves inside. And if any creeps show up, shoot 'em right in the face. Both girls nodded along like adorable little soldiers. Also, make sure you eat the entire goose today. That's an order. But it's way too big. At least take the legs for your trip. Before I could even blink, Z shoved 2 wrapped goose legs into my hands. And of course, Xiao Wu immediately backed her up. If you don't take them, we're not eating either. Man, these girls weaponize guilt like actual professionals. Fine. I kept one leg and forced the other back into her hands. We finally compromised, which, in this family, apparently, just means everyone aggressively argues about who gets to starve less. Before heading out, I asked if they needed anything from town. Z glanced over at Xiao Wu's tattered clothes, obviously wanting to ask for some new threads for her little sister, but she just shook her head. But then, Xiao Wu, the exact same girl who called me a stinky man yesterday, said, "If you have cash to spare, buy clothes for my sister instead. Hers are literally falling apart, but mine are totally fine." Z's eyes instantly welled up. Seriously, these 2 broke sisters are constantly trying to give up everything for each other. I just nodded and hurried out before I started crying myself. But Z had a secret plan. Take whatever clothes I bought for her, tear them apart, and sew them back together to fit Xiao Wu. This woman is literally playing 4D chess with fabric. Next, I swung by the blacksmith shop. Linger was already hard at work, tinkering away. She'd actually figured out how to mount dual arrow notches onto a single bow, allowing someone to fire 2 arrows at the exact same time. This girl is a straight-up engineering prodigy, who was born about 3 centuries too early. I pulled out a rough sketch I'd drawn up the night before, a tactical crossbow design, modeled after the weapons I used back in my military days. Linger stared at my blueprint like I just handed her some kind of hyper-advanced alien tech. You drew this. Her brain was completely short-circuiting. The village's resident loser who can't even pass his exams somehow just designed a weapon that looked ages ahead of anything she had ever seen. I left her drooling over the blueprints and turned to head out, but she quickly snapped out of it and chased after me. Wait, I need to head to Chao County for supplies too. Sure, why not? I replied. It's always nice to have some company for the road. Very bouncy company. Of course, every villager we passed had to run their mouth. Oh look, the idiot and the blacksmith girl are stepping out together. Wait, didn't he literally just get married? Stepping out with Linger? Is he taking a concubine already? Linger instantly blushed, turning bright red like a tomato. Honestly, I thought it was hilarious. She is honestly so much cuter when she's completely flustered, which is a dangerous thought to have when you're already a married man. But then, she completely froze. Wolf! And sure enough, a massive gray shadow lurked at the forest edge. It was absolutely huge with glowing red eyes. This was a straight-up man-eater. The exact beast Linger's sister-in-law warned us about. Now, normal people would run, but my gamer brain instantly went.
Cha Jing.
A pristine wolf pelt is worth some serious cash. Go grab the bows now. Linger dashed back to the shop like prime Usain Bolt, returning in seconds with 2 bows, completely out of breath. With her hair messy, sweat dripping, and chest heaving, man, I really needed to focus. Mainly because a literal monster was trying to eat us alive. I snatched my upgraded bow and charged straight ahead. This apex predator was no joke. It had already tasted human blood before. Seeing me sprint toward it instead of running away in terror, the beast looked almost offended. It let out a deafening roar and lunged at me, baring its razor-sharp fangs. Those crimson eyes glared like a literal demon hound from hell. My first arrow whiffed, barely grazing its skull. And great, now the wolf was moving even faster. I definitely just made it mad. It growled furiously. Second arrow, another miss. Third shot, missed again. But the fourth, thwack, direct hit to the leg. The wolf whimpered in pain, tumbling hard before scrambling back to its feet. It glared at me with pure hatred. This tank was incredibly durable. I had 1 shot left. Steady hands now. Deep breath. Thump. Clean through the skull. Critical hit. Boom. Headshot. Gigi. Edge. The massive wolf wobbled for a second and faceplanted. Dead. Linger finally caught up, staring at the lifeless beast, then back at me standing there, completely untouched. She clutched her chest in pure relief. You absolutely scared me to death. But just then, the village cripple appeared, hobbling over with a bundle of firewood on his back. And he was clutching something in his hand. I took a closer look, and my jaw hit the floor. He was holding a wild Ganoderma mushroom, a legendary lingji the size of a freaking dinner plate, shimmering like a piece of finely polished mahogany. In the modern world, a specimen like this would fetch a fortune. In ancient times, still an absolute jackpot. I mean, this is basically the legendary medicinal Holy Grail, a straight-up miracle medicine from ancient legends. This clueless cripple had absolutely no idea what he was holding. He literally just called it a random piece of wood. But meanwhile, Linger was totally staring at me again. Our eyes met. Her entire face instantly exploded red, and she whipped her head away so fast. She practically gave herself severe whiplash. Man, this girl. If we weren't out in public right now, I swear nope, remember? I'm a married man. Loyal married man, loyal married man. The cripple just grinned right at me. Hey, wealthy bro. You actually want this junk wood? I took a closer look at his junk wood, and tried my absolute best not to start hyperventilating on the spot. That generic lump of wood was actually a legendary Ganoderma mushroom, a massive wild lingji, easily the size of a dinner plate. Back in my modern world, this thing would easily fetch thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of dollars. It is literally one of the most mythical, god-tier medicinal treasures in Chinese history. Ancient emperors have literally fought bloody wars over this stuff. And this man was letting it go for a measly 10 copper coins. 10 coins. When a single coin barely buys you a regular bun. He was basically offering me a brand new Rolex. For the price of a cheap sandwich. Honestly, 5 coins is totally fine. If 10 is too steep for you, he added nervously. My guy, I will gladly give you 10. I'll pay you 10 so fast your head will spin. I slammed those coins right into his palm. Before he could even blink. And he was completely thrilled. He even offered to throw in a massive delivery of firewood to my house. As a free bonus, because he legitimately felt guilty for scamming me. The dude practically sprinted away from the scene, terrified I'd suddenly change my mind and back out. Meanwhile, I'm just standing there, holding a god-tier herb worth a small fortune, trying my absolute hardest not to burst out laughing. And drop the damn thing. Linger strolled right over, and stared at me like I was officially the dumbest person on the planet. You seriously just threw away 10 whole coins for a piece of wood? It's lingji, an insanely rare, legendary medicine. Can it fill your stomach though? Well, no. But it's about to absolutely fill my wallet. She completely refused to believe me, but to be fair, nobody in this backwater village would ever recognize a miracle herb, even if it smacked them right across the face. These simple-minded locals genuinely think the ideal wife is just someone who can plow a whole field with her bare hands. Yeah, botanical expertise definitely isn't their thing. By noon, we finally rolled into Chow County. Picture me hauling a massive dead wolf on my back, looking like the world's most metal backpacker. Meanwhile, Linger was cradling the lingji. Hilariously, nobody even spared the wolf a glance. Hunter's pedal game here literally 24/7. And shocker, no one recognized the legendary lingji either. So we basically strolled right into town, carrying a massive beast corpse and an absolute fortune. And everyone just collectively shrugged. Honestly, I love this chaotic market economy. Soon, a massive, bearded dude started inspecting our wolf. Instantly, Linger flipped her switch straight into hardcore sales mode. I swear, I had no idea she even had this gear in her. Sir, this wolf is absolute premium quality. Look at this flawless fur and pristine meat. Literally top tier. It took us 10 grueling days and several broken bows to hunt this beast. 10 days? Girl, I literally vaporized it 30 minutes ago. But hey, whatever, let's run with that epic marketing markup. Through pure storytelling, this girl completely understands capitalism. The bearded guy grunted and offered us 800 copper coins. We were praying for 600, so my brain literally did a backflip. 800 coins is enough to feed an entire village family. For a whole year. Absolute steal. Right then, an old elite in fancy robes spotted our lingji. His eyes popped out of his skull like he'd just found the Holy Grail. Linger didn't miss a beat and pivoted her pitch instantly, rattling off hyper-specific facts about the lingjis. Insane grade. Facts I'd literally told her 5 minutes prior, acting like she'd been a master mushroom broker her whole life. He offered 300, but I confidently shot back with 5. He tried to lowball, but I channeled every master negotiation tactic. From both of my lifetimes, holding firm that it was worth every single penny. And he folded. 500 copper coins. Sold. Let's look at the total payout. 1,300 copper coins from a wolf I clapped in 5 minutes. And a mushroom I bought on the cheap for a mere 10 coins. That is a mind-blowing 5,000% return on investment. Honestly, Warren Buffett is shaking right now. Oh my gosh, you're rich. Linger squealed, bouncing with sheer excitement. And yes, I definitely noticed the bouncing. Hey, I'm only human. I immediately split the loot in half and held her share out to her. But she instantly shook her head. No way, you took down the wolf. And you're the one who bought the lingji. Sure. But you spotted the beast first. Fetched the bows, and absolutely crushed that sales pitch. She just stood there, staring at me, clearly having a massive internal crisis. Then, she super hesitantly took exactly 30 coins out of the 650. Seriously, this adorable little goofball only took 30. When I literally offered her the whole damn bag. Alright, that's it. I am protecting this girl at all costs. I immediately swapped my mountain of copper for silver coins at the local exchange and went on a massive shopping spree. Gifts for my wife, gifts for my sister-in-law. I was on an absolute mission. I went completely feral in that market. Hit up this shop, raided that stall. Ooh, what's this? Let me get 10 of those. I bought so much stuff I needed a giant burlap sack just to carry it. After 2 lifetimes of never buying a single gift for a woman, I suddenly had two ladies to absolutely spoil rotten. The floodgates were wide open. I hauled my massive haul back to our meetup spot, right outside the money exchange. I waited, but no sign of Linger. A few more minutes passed, and still nothing. But then, I heard some heated shouting coming from a nearby leather shop. "Please, sir. I'm just a few coins short. Can I please pay the rest later? I'll bring it back in a couple of days. I swear." Oh no. My girl was getting cornered. Turns out, the creepy shop owner was totally hitting on Linger. "Tell you what, sweet cheek. How about you grab a drink with me? And we'll call the rest even." Ugh, classic predator behavior. I immediately stepped in, pulled her behind my back, slapped down the cash, and glared at the dude, until that greasy smirk completely melted off his face. Nobody, and I mean nobody, messes with my business partner. Yeah, business partner. Let's go with that. Once we got outside, Linger was blushing hard. "I'll pay you back, I swear. Don't sweat it," I told her. But then her eyes locked onto the giant sack of loot I was carrying. "Wait, what's all that?" "Oh, just some gifts for my wife and sister-in-law." She peeked inside, saw roughly 9,000 different cosmetics and accessories, and her jaw literally hit the floor. "Wow. You treat your wife like a queen. Being married to you must feel like a dream." There was something in her voice right then, like a sad kid staring through a window at someone else's birthday cake. On our way back, I pulled out 2 warm buns I'd bought earlier, and handed one to her. She looked up, our eyes locked, and her face instantly flushed bright red. She quietly nibbled on the bun, keeping her head down, looking as cute as a blushing sunset. This girl literally blushes if I so much as breathe in her direction. It's honestly adorable, and I'm probably a terrible person for enjoying it. We finally made it back to the village right at dusk. Everything seemed completely normal at first, until we passed by Auntie Wong's hut. "Get inside. The wolves are in the village. They're tearing people apart." Hearing that, my blood ran ice cold. I shoved Linger toward Wong's place and sprinted full speed for my house. The village was pure chaos. Kids screaming bloody murder everywhere. Shadowy wolf shapes were darting between the huts. Distant cries of panic echoed from all sides. I kicked my door open and burst inside. Nothing. The place was completely empty. Bows and gear were tossed all over the floor. Worse, there was fresh blood and massive paw prints. My heart instantly stopped, like literally missed a beat. For one terrifying second, I thought my brand new family, the family I'd only known for a single day, was already dead. I snatched a bough off the floor and bolted back outside. I was running like a man possessed, and then, I heard a scream. It was the chief's son, Li Fuxing. He was cornered by 3 massive wolves. He was desperately swinging a carrying pole, looking like a terrified kid trying to play baseball. He was backed right up against a peach tree. His knees were knocking together, his face pale as a ghost. He tripped over a rock and fell flat on his butt. A wolf lunged, aiming straight for his throat. In one fluid motion, I drew back and let it fly. Boom! Arrow straight through the skull. The beast dropped mid-air. "Climb the tree, Fuxing. Now!" He didn't need to be told twice. He scrambled up that peach tree faster than a squirrel on caffeine. The remaining 2 wolves immediately locked their glowing red eyes on me. Instead of panicking, I let loose. First arrow only grazed one. But the second, thwack, headshot, 1 down. I reached back for my 3rd arrow, and my hand grabbed absolutely nothing. My quiver was bone dry. 1 wolf left, and it was sprinting right at me. I turned to run, but my foot caught on a root. I face-planted hard right into the dirt. A white-hot pain shot straight up my ankle. I rolled onto my back just in time to see the beast leaping at me. His jaws were wide open, drool flying everywhere. Pure malice in its eyes. This was it. This is how I go out? On day 2. Spawn killed by a stray wolf? I didn't even get to experience my wedding night yet. What an absolute waste of 2 lifetimes. Thwip. Suddenly, an arrow sprouted right out of the wolf's neck. It crashed down hard right beside me, and when I looked up, there she was. My wife, sprinting straight toward me, bow in hand, hair flying everywhere, looking absolutely fierce. She was already locking in another arrow. Boom! Clean headshot on the next release. And just like that, the wolf dropped dead. My wife literally just saved my life. The exact same girl who was trembling in fear yesterday. The fragile, forgotten flower that nobody wanted. She just absolutely deleted a wolf. Husband, are you hurt? But I was already checking her over first. She didn't have a scratch, and luckily Xiao Wu was safe too. She had forced her up a plum tree right when the pack attacked. Turns out she actually sniped one back at the house. That explained all the blood. Then she spotted me from the tree line and came running. I pulled her into a hug so incredibly tight, I honestly thought I cracked a rib. Hers, obviously. Not mine. Right then, the chief arrived with the villagers. They were locked and loaded with torches and weapons. But when they saw 3 dead wolves around me, they nearly fainted. Meanwhile, the chief's son was wailing. "Daddy!" Covered in tears and snot, stuck up on a branch. I snatched 2 arrows back from the wolf carcasses, took my wife's hand, and we started heading back home. On the way, I looked down at her under the moonlight. Her lips were slightly parted. She looked breathtaking in the dim light, so I just kissed her.
Oreal, peshenitkish.
She instantly jumped back, her face exploding bright red. "Thank you for saving me, wifey." Her chest was heaving, and her heart was pounding so hard, I could practically hear it vibrating. It's just what a wife is supposed to do. But hey, she didn't run away this time. So naturally, I leaned in for round 2. She stood frozen, her eyes gently closing. Then her eyes snapped open, looking past my shoulder. "Husband, look behind you." I smirked. "Nothing is prettier than you, babe." But then I actually turned around. Yeah. 15 wolves 100 meters out, stalking right toward us. Literal blood dripping from their jaws. Their glowing green eyes cutting through the pitch black. It looked like a straight-up horror movie casting call. Welp. Note to self. Stop trying to make out with my wife in the wild. 15 apex predators versus the 2 of us. And we were fresh out of ammo. Z and I went back to back, looking like a straight-up action movie poster. Except we didn't look cool at all. We were both literally shaking and sweating bullets. My knuckles were white from gripping the bow, and her breathing sounded like a terrified, panicking rabbit. "Shoot!" I yelled. We started letting them fly. I dropped one instantly. She dropped another, though it took her 2 arrows. But hey, she literally just learned archery today. That's absolutely insane. Most people can't even master parallel parking in a single day. And my wife is out here sniping rabid wolves by moonlight. But then we completely ran out of arrows. Well, almost. I had exactly 1 left. And there were still like 11 wolves closing in on us. Their green eyes were glowing, growling like some demonic dog choir. My brain immediately went into overdrive. Then it hit me, the Wolf King. Every pack has a leader. If you take out the boss, the minions will scatter. This classic video game logic. I spotted him, the absolute biggest wolf, hanging back in the rear lines, like a general supervising his troops. So, I did the most bats hit insane thing possible. I charged straight at the entire wolf pack. My wife screamed and bolted right after me. Bro, this woman, I'm sprinting toward certain death. And she's following me like it's some cute couple's activity. At the absolute last second before crashing into the pack, I whipped around, channeled every single ounce of strength into my arm, and launched my final arrow straight at the Wolf King's throat. Boom! Direct hit. The big boy went down like a falling tree. The rest of the wolves froze, staring at their dead boss. Then at me, then at each other. Then they all noped out, bolting into the darkness. Like, yeah, absolutely not worth it. Bye! My wife collapsed into my arms, crying and shaking uncontrollably. Are you insane? If something happened to you, what would me and our kid do? I gently wiped away her tears and kissed her forehead. We're safe now, babe. It was a super romantic moment, until it got brutally interrupted. You absolute lunatic! A sharp woman's voice sliced through the night. Stepping out of the darkness was none other than Linger's sister-in-law, Chin Mei Yen, the ultimate village huntress. She was tall, perfectly tanned, with legs for days, rocking skin-tight animal furs. That left absolutely nothing to the imagination. And trailing right behind her was her little brother. Enter Qin Xiaolong, a total stick-figure teenager, clutching a bow and desperately trying to act tough. Save the lovey-dovey stuff for home. Mayan smirked, looking down at us. Xiaolong snickered right behind her. Ugh, what a little punk. Ignoring them, I went to reclaim my arrows from the dead wolves, and that's exactly when things got annoying. Hey, those wolves don't belong to you. So you can't touch those arrows. Xiaolong puffed out his chest like a tiny, angry rooster. Oh really? Then who actually bagged them? His face turned beet red. My brother-in-law did. He's the apex hunter in this entire village. Bro, his brother-in-law wasn't even on the map right now. This kid was literally trying to steal credit. For a guy who was miles away, I just ripped my arrows out anyway. Mayan was highly suspicious. She obviously didn't buy that a total nerd. And his fragile-looking wife could take down 3 massive wolves. But she chose to keep her mouth shut and let us walk. Smart move. As we melted into the shadows, the village chief rolled up with a mob of villagers and torches. The second they spotted the 3 wolf carcasses, they immediately started showering Mayan and Xiao Long with praise. Incredible work, Mayan. 3 massive wolves? Only you could pull that off. And Xiao Long is turning into a beast of a hunter. Just like his brother-in-law. Mayan looked totally bewildered. Wait, I didn't kill these. Suddenly, the chief's son, Fu Xing, piped up. It was Yu Wei. He slaughtered 3 wolves right before my eyes. And completely saved my life. That wimp. Xiao Long sneered. He's never even held a bow in his life. My brother-in-law obviously carried this whole fight. Fu Xing's face went crimson. I saw it with my own damn eyes. Now, the villagers had absolutely no idea what to believe. The soft, fragile bookworm. Somehow transforming into absolute John Wick overnight? Yeah, it just wasn't computing. But then, a blood-curdling shriek shattered the night sky. It echoed from 500 meters out, and Mayan's face instantly drained of color. That's my husband. She bolted into the darkness, and the entire crowd scrambled after her. Meanwhile, Z and I hit a full sprint back toward the plum tree, where we had safely stashed Xiao Wu. But the branches were completely empty. Xiao Wu! Z started screaming, her voice cracking in pure panic, as she began blindly stumbling through the pitch black. Her footing slipped as she glanced down. A massive pool of fresh blood stained the grass right under the tree. The color instantly drained from her face as she began to collapse. I managed to catch her right before she hit the ground, but my own stomach completely bottomed out. Please God, not Xiao Wu. Anyone but her. Not that sassy little brat who always calls me a stinky old man, and rates my literal life-saving medical skills as barely passable. Please not her. It's literally day 2 of our marriage. And this brutal world is already trying to tear my new family apart. We tore through the village, searching house by house, screaming Xiao Wu's name into the pitch-black night. But our cries were met with nothing but howling wind and hungry wolves. Suddenly, Z spotted a tiny, ruined shoe discarded in the dirt. That's Xiao Wu's. I know it is, she screamed. She went into a full-blown panic attack, her hands trembling violently, as tears streamed down her face, barely able to breathe. Then, her eyes locked onto a gruesome pile of blood and bones just ahead. And that was the final straw. Her eyes rolled back, and she passed out cold right into my arms. My own chest was ready to explode from the sheer terror, but I forced myself to step closer and inspect the remains. White hair, shredded rags of coarse clothing. It wasn't her. Thank every single god in this godforsaken ancient dynasty. I scooped Z up and bolted straight back to our house. The entire village had devolved into a literal horror movie soundtrack. Guttural screams, weeping, and bloodthirsty howling. Dark silhouettes darted frantically under the moonlight. I couldn't even tell if they were ravenous beasts or terrified villagers, and I wasn't about to stick around to find out. We finally reached our shack. The front door was bolted tight from the inside. Suddenly, I heard the patter of tiny footsteps. The door creaked open, and there she stood. Her face was pale as a ghost, covered in tear tracks, shaking like a leaf. But she was alive. But the moment she saw Z, unconscious and limp in my arms, she completely broke down. What's wrong with Big Sis? Is she hurt? She wailed. Her desperate cries instantly jolted Z awake. Z scrambled wildly out of my arms and lunged toward her little sister. They locked each other in a desperate embrace, clinging together so hard I thought they'd fuse into one, sobbing hysterically until they were both completely breathless. I quickly ushered them both inside, slammed the door shut, threw the deadbolt, and wrapped my arms around the crying duo in a giant bear hug. We just stayed huddled like that on the floor for what felt like hours, waiting for their trembling to finally subside. Once they calmed down, I knew I had to go check outside. Just then, Z grabbed my hand with a literal death grip. Please don't go. It's way too dangerous out there. I'm terrified. All right, chill. I'm staying right here. I quickly got a fire going with the wood. Our resident cripple had dropped off earlier. Shout out to that guy, because that firewood honestly saved our sanity. The 3 of us huddled up as close to the flames as possible. And yeah, nobody slept a wink that night. But hey, we didn't end up as wolf food, so I'm calling it a massive win. Morning finally came, and I woke up with my face completely smushed into Z's chest, while Xiao Wu's entire body weight was absolutely crushing my leg. Honestly, not the worst way to wake up, but the vibes definitely could have been a bit better. We all kind of just stared at each other, then looked down at the dead ashes, sharing that ultimate, unspoken, holy crap, we actually survived moment. Stepping outside, we found Fu Xing and the cripple standing over 6 dead wolves, just laid out on the dirt. Fu Xing literally ran up and practically threw his arrows at me. Brother Wei, I owe you my life. Whatever you need, whenever you need it, just say the word. You literally saved me from becoming a wolf's midnight snack. Right then, Xiao Wu walked out and heard him call her sister-in-law. She instantly blushed bright red, stomped hard on his foot, and bolted back inside. Fu Xing was left hopping around in pure agony, completely utterly confused. Welcome to the family, kid. But then the heavy reality hit. 3 villagers were dead, and a little kid had been taken. First was Old Man Neo, this super sweet old guy who always looked out for the original Iwei. His wife passed years ago, one son was killed in the war, and his other son was murdered by bandits. Then, his only grandson died of sickness just last year. And now he was gone too, brutally mauled by wolves. It's like the universe just refused to stop taking from this man. Until there was absolutely nothing left. And the village idiot? Yeah. My favorite member of our local Three Stooges was gone. Just like that. He was one of the 3 main village weirdos. And now, there were only 2 of us remaining. Then there was Iron Ergo Linger's brother. Mayan's husband and literally the toughest hunter in the entire village. Taken down by the exact same wolves he had spent his entire life hunting. On top of that, a 10-year-old boy was snatched. Apparently, he went outside to use the bathroom during the chaos, and was dragged straight into the pitch-black woods. That's when the cripple placed a heavy hand on my shoulder. Well, brother. The 3 Stooges of Beast Ridge are down to a duo now. His voice literally cracked as he said it. My eyes stung. This brutal world doesn't let you live. It just keeps grinding you down to nothing. Suddenly, the chief rolled up with the entire village. Over 100 people gathered, and my God, they looked absolutely devastated. Just skin and bones. Wearing rags on top of literal rags. Most of them looked like a strong gust of wind would blow them away. The wolves are still lurking on the mountain, the chief announced, and they will be back tonight. We need hunting patrols. You Wei, you took down 6 wolves last night. Your commanding team won. Everyone's eyes locked onto me. The guy they called a brainless idiot just 2 days ago was suddenly being appointed as their wartime commander. Bro hauled in a giant fish, wrecked the local bully, and slaughtered 6 wolves. Let him lead. If he's captain, I might actually sleep tonight. I hesitated for a single second, then nodded. All right, I'm in. I handpicked my squad. Fu Xing owes me his life, so he's hyped. The cripple and the last of the Stooges gotta stick together. Plus, 3 young guys, who still had some actual fire left in them. Fu Xing was so hyped he was practically bouncing. Yes, following you is the best play I've ever made. The chief quickly organized 3 more squads, taking charge of Team 2 himself. Everything was moving fast. Strategy was forming, and the village was finally organizing. People were finding a spark of courage they didn't know they had. But then we heard it. A raw, heart-wrenching sob. Everyone turned. Linger was stumbling toward us. Her hair was wild, and her eyes were swollen completely shut. Her voice was absolutely shredded, and she could barely even stand. Her brother was gone. This bubbly, cheerful girl who blushed at every little thing, and engineered weapons like a straight-up genius, now looked like her soul had been brutally ripped away, right out of her chest. And for the very first time since I got ice-guyed here, I didn't have a single witty remark to make. Linger limped toward us looking like a literal ghost. Her hair was a total mess. Her eyes cried into tiny slits. Her voice was completely gone. I caught her by the shoulders to keep her from collapsing. My sister-in-law, she actually headed up the mountain to hunt those wolves. Purely for revenge. Instantly everyone went pale. Saddling up to a wolf-infested mountain solo? That's basically writing your own death warrant. The village chief mobilized the squad immediately. Move out, everyone. We're bringing her back. I bolted back home to grab my bow. Z immediately threw herself into my arms. Please, you have to be careful up there. I kissed her forehead. I'll be back before you know it. Stay inside and lock the doors. Xiao grabbed my arm, her eyes welling up with tears. Brother-in-law, you have to come back alive. We're waiting for you. Literally 2 days ago, this girl called me a broke loser. Now she's begging me not to die. Talk about a character arc. On my way out, I noticed those 6 wolf carcasses still lying in the yard. Even in a life-or-death crisis, the grind never stops. Hey! Rub some salt water on those wolves so they don't spoil. I'm selling them later. Z yelled back. But we're out of salt. I replied. Check the big sack I brought. The sisters tore open my shopping bags and found fresh clothes, new shoes, jewelry, premium toiletries, and a massive stack of silver and copper coins. I could literally hear Xiao Wu's ecstatic screams from halfway down the dirt road. Oh my God! Brother-in-law is filthy rich. We're finally living large. Talk about priorities. Anyway, I hit the base of the mountain, and there was Linger about to charge up the slope. Completely alone, armed with nothing but a basic bow and a death wish. Stop right there. You want revenge. Then go home and build a proper weapon. If you rush in there like an idiot, you're dead. And who's going to protect Mayan then? What are we supposed to tell your brother's spirit? My bad. We let your little sister get eaten too? That reality check hit her like a truck. She froze. I bought all the raw materials in Chao County yesterday. I reminded her. And you already know the schematics. A heavy crossbow is 10 times deadlier than any standard bow. We build that first, then we exterminate those wolves. She bit her lip, her fists trembling with rage, before finally giving in with a nod. Fine. I'll do it your way. But I need high-grade hardwood for the crossbow stock. Leave that to me. I'll find it. You focus on the trigger mechanism and bowstring. Let's do this together. She turned around to leave, but suddenly spun right back. Yue, please be careful. I can't bear to lose you too. Her voice literally cracked at the very end. Right then, something warm hit me straight in the chest. And nope, it wasn't an arrow. Catching feelings? Extremely dangerous. I'll be totally fine. You stay safe too. As she dashed off, I made my way up the rugged mountain. About 15 minutes into the trek, I ran into my squad. Fu Xing, the crippled guy, and 3 young rookies just waiting at the mountain pass. They looked like total lost puppies. Your dad told us we're under your command now. Fu Xing grunted. These guys were clearly expecting me to lead them up the mountain, to hunt down wolves like we're in some Rambo movie. Instead, I ordered them to pick flowers. Well, okay, not exactly pretty flowers. I tracked down 3 highly specific plants. Mugwort, Jack-in-the-Pulpit, and Buttercup. Sounds like a cozy grandma's garden, right? But trust me, these are straight-up chemical weapons against wolves. Mugwort has a pungent aroma that completely scrambles their nose. Since wolves rely heavily on scent, this effectively blinds their primary sense. Next up, Jack-in-the-Pulpit is toxic from leaf to root. Its natural chemicals irritate wolves so intensely that they won't dare step near it. As for Buttercup, its juice burns like absolute acid, another lethal wolf repellent. I showed them a few samples. Mugwort has these fuzzy leaves with white backs. Jack-in-the-Pulpit has star-shaped leaves and a bulbous root, and Buttercup has these bright yellow petals. Even these clueless rookies could easily spot them. Fu Xing confidently slapped his chest. Whatever you say, boss, we're on it. I sent him and 2 of the boys to harvest the herbs, wash them thoroughly, and dry them out. I needed every single batch prepped and ready by sundown. After that, I took the crippled veteran and the other kid straight to a specific tree I'd scouted earlier. Chop this down and haul it over to Linger's workshop. It was a kudrang tree of medium thickness, boasting incredibly dense, tough wood, perfect for a heavy-duty crossbow stock. While the crippled man and the kid got to chopping, I forged ahead, climbing further up the mountain alone. Now look, I know exactly what you're thinking. Yue, are you seriously hiking up a wolf-infested mountain solo after all that? And honestly, you'd be totally right to worry, because as I was walking deep into the dark forest, I'd been trekking for maybe 20 minutes when this red-eyed, monstrous gray wolf suddenly lunges straight out of the brush, fangs fully bared, viciously snarling, and staring at me like I was a fresh, walking steak. The second I reached for an arrow, 2 more massive wolves burst out from the tall grass, flanking me on both sides. 3 absolutely starving, skeletal, and completely psychotic beasts, instantly forming a deadly triangle around me. Bro, it's literally day 3 in this world, and it's already my 3rd time getting surrounded by apex predators. At this rate, I should just legally change my name to Free Lunch. Alright, simple math, 3 wolves, 3 arrows. 3 dead wolves, right? The math checks out perfectly. Except, yeah, execution-wise, it wasn't nearly that clean. First arrow totally whiffed. Just grazed one's ear, giving it a tragic, free haircut. Thankfully, the second arrow nailed the next beast straight in the skull, and the third dropped another one with a clean neck shot. But that last wolf went absolute kamikaze mode. It launched itself through the air like a furry, bloodthirsty missile. I let out a battle cry, which honestly sounded way cooler in my head, and shot it square through its wide-open, gaping maw. The arrow literally pierced right into its face, and exploded out the back of its skull. Only real issue? The wolf's dead weight was still flying directly at me. I slammed into the dirt like a sack of bricks, pinned under a 100-pound, lifeless canine corpse. Just lying there, trapped beneath a dead wolf, smelling its horrific breath and thinking, yep, this is my life now. After finally crawling my way out, I did a totally paranoid, full 360-degree scan checking for more threats. Eventually, the disabled guy and the kid finally catch up to me. The moment they saw the 3 dead wolves, their jaws completely hit the floor. Boss, you are absolute psycho. I just casually pulled my arrows out, told them to haul the heavy carcasses down the mountain, and kept hiking up, because apparently, Eve somehow decided that solo trekking across Wolf Murder Mountain is just a casual part of my morning routine now. Meanwhile, back at the homestead, the disabled hunter successfully delivered the massive wolves to my wives. Your husband single-handedly slaughtered 3 more wolves, he gasped. And the man didn't even get a single scratch. Hearing this, Z instantly burst into massive tears of pure relief. Zhao's face went totally crimson, and she started crying right along with her. Let's look at my official body count for the week. 9 apex wolves, 1 ruthless village bully, and absolutely 0 actual dates with my own wives. Man, priorities in ancient China are seriously wild. And man, I seriously wish I could have been a fly on the wall for this. Z pulled Xiao aside for a little sisterly heart-to-heart. Xiao, your brother-in-law is literally the ultimate catch. When you're older, you should totally marry him too. Wait, what? Think about it. He's incredibly kind, brave, and reliable. Plus, this way, we'd never have to be apart. Ugh, I'm way too young. No way am I marrying that smelly guy. Xiao literally bolted out of the house. Z shouted after her. But he's not like other guys. I don't care, echoed back from somewhere down the street. So yeah, my wife is actively recruiting her own little sister to be wife number 2. And I don't even have a clue yet. My harem is literally building itself on autopilot. This ancient dynasty is wild. Meanwhile, back on the mountain, I bumped into old Huang, the village woodcutter, who was lugging a massive haul of firewood, looking completely lost, after accidentally ditching the search party. But then, I spotted what was in his other hand. A wild ginseng root the size of a freaking turnip. Golden skin, pristine, highly defined growth rings. This thing had to be at least 20 to 30 years old. In modern times, this baby would easily fetch more than a luxury car. Heck, maybe even a whole house. And this adorable dummy was about to chomp down on it, like it was some casual snack. Smells pretty sweet, he muttered, opening his mouth wide. Mom, I am starving. Might as well. I literally tackled his hand like an NFL linebacker. Whoa, stop. You cannot eat that. Huh? Why not? It's just some random root lump. A root lump. He just called a 30-year-old wild ginseng. A root lump. This village is literally sitting on a gold mine, and absolutely nobody has a clue what anything is worth. First, that crippled guy sells me a miracle cure for 10 measly coins, and now this guy is about to munch on priceless ginseng. Like it's a carrot stick. Sell it to me, I said, desperately trying to keep my voice casual, while my heart was absolutely doing backflips. For this old root? Just gimme a few coins. I offered 10 copper coins, and the guy actually hesitated. Not because the offer was too low, mind you, but because he thought 10 coins was way too generous. Well, it was pretty tough to dig up. Alright, 10 coins it is, but no refunds. Okay? He walked away cackling, thinking he had just absolutely fleeced me. What a total clown, he muttered, shuffling down the trail. Meanwhile, I'm just standing there holding a legendary herb worth a literal fortune, all bought for the price of 10 cheap buns. My return on investment this week? Approximately, infinity %. I ended up hiding the massive ginseng inside a hollow tree. strictly because it was too damn big to fit in my pockets. Easiest upgrade ever, richest tree in the dynasty. Right there. But right then, I heard groaning. A woman's voice, and definitely not the good kind of groaning. I pushed through the thick, tangled bushes to find the source, and found Mei Yen lingering there, the badass huntress sister-in-law, collapsed on the dirt. Her face was deathly pale, sweating buckets, and she couldn't even stand. What happened? I asked. Venomous bug. Bit my chest. She gasped. I can't move. Please help me. She desperately pulled down her collar to show me exactly where the culprit struck. And yep, it was on the left side, right on her very prominent chest area. The bite was nastily swollen and red, with some seriously creepy purple bruising starting to spread out. Look, I am a certified doctor. This is purely medical. I am analyzing this situation with strictly clinical eyes. Clinical eyes that, mind you, couldn't help but notice. This woman was basically a gorgeous, ancient Chinese, Amazonian warrior goddess. Absolutely built like an absolute powerhouse. But focus, man. Poisoned, dying woman right here. Time to lock in and go full doctor mode. So there I was, ancient China's most reluctant medical professional, about to perform emergency surgery on a huntress's chest. Inside a random bush on a wolf-infested mountain. Just another chaotic Tuesday. Mei Yen explained through painful groans that some toxic bug had crawled right down her shirt. She tried to slap it away, but the nasty thing bit her. Directly in that very sensitive, prominent spot. She went from a terrifying, fierce warrior to a helpless, shivering patient. Real quick. You're a doctor, right? She whimpered. Tell me you can fix this. Okay. First step. I need to open up your shirt. Now, let me make this crystal clear. This was 100% professional. But also, I've lived 2 entire lifetimes, with 0 female interaction until literally yesterday. And now, I'm unbuttoning a literal Amazonian huntress in the middle of the woods. My hands were shaking like absolute leaves in a Category 5 hurricane. Hey, watch where you're touching, she snapped. Look, if you've still got the energy to yell at me, fine, I'll go grab someone else. Wait, don't leave. I'll let you do it. She squeezed those words out like it literally crushed her soul. This absolute powerhouse of a woman, who could probably body slam a bear, was straight up dying of embarrassment. Because the village idiot was about to get a free show. I got to work squeezing the wound, and this nasty purplish-black venom started oozing out. She was shaking like a leaf, her face going from pale white to a bright tomato red. She was definitely living through the most mortifying moment of her entire life. I felt bad for her. Well, not bad enough to look away, but still bad. Next, I had to physically suck the remaining venom out. You know how in medical K-dramas the main lead does this, and it looks super heroic and dramatic? Yeah, in reality you're just spitting out toxic bug juice, and fighting the urge to vomit, all while a woman who could snap your neck like a twig is making whimpering noises she will absolutely murder you for hearing. Luckily, I spotted 3 perfect medicinal herbs nearby. Lobelia for the detox, Paris polyphylla to stop the swelling, and wild violets to neutralize the venom. I mashed them up, applied the paste, and carefully fixed her clothes. Total professional. How's that feel? Better? The stinging had stopped, but she couldn't even look me in the eye. Her face was so hot it could have heated an entire village. Hey, what happened here? You tell absolutely no one. Not your wife, not a single soul. And just like that, she locked me in with a deadly glare. Yep, there she is. The terrifying huntress is back. Doctor-patient confidentiality, ma'am. My lips are sealed. But right then a wolf howled. And it wasn't just one. A whole pack started chiming in from every direction. The chilling echoes bounced off the cliffs, like a straight-up horror movie soundtrack. We need to move now. She tried to stand up, she really did. But between running on 0 sleep, grieving her late husband, and being pumped full of insect venom, her body was completely running on empty. 3 steps in and she was already collapsing, while the wolves were rapidly closing their circle. Just leave me, she screamed. Let me die here. At least I'll be with my husband. Just run. Oh yeah? And what about Linger? What about your little brother? That instantly shut her up. Tears welled up in her eyes. She had completely forgotten about them. I dropped to one knee. Get on my back now. I hauled her as far as my legs could carry us. But those damn wolves completely cut us off. 0 escape routes, just flashing teeth and glowing green eyes. In every single direction. Of course, Mayan tried to play the martyr again. Drop me. I'll distract them. Save yourself. But then, I spotted it. A massive poplar tree right behind her. Tall enough to keep us safe. She tried to scramble up, but her arms were straight up jelly. She couldn't even pull her own weight. So, I did what any gentleman doctor, warrior idiot would do. I grabbed her, took a firm grip and launched her upward. Then, I literally bear hugged her legs and shoved. She made some highly questionable noises during this whole ordeal that we will absolutely never speak of again. She managed to scramble up, then shrieked down at me. Your turn. Move, hurry. Right then, 3 wolves lunged at me all at once. I whipped around and put arrows clean through 2 of them, operating on nothing but pure adrenaline and survival horror. But now the rest of the pack was swarming in fast. I slung my bow around my neck, vaulted off a rock and caught a high branch. 3 wolves snapped at my boots from below, literally inches away from biting my legs off. I kicked my legs up, scrambled wildly against the bark, and Mayan grabbed my collar and hauled me onto a thick, sturdy branch. We were safe. For now. Below us, dozens of wolves were clawing at the trunk, howling, staring up at us. Like we were snacks stuck in the world's most frustrating vending machine. I can't hold on. Mayan was fading, starving, dehydrated, completely exhausted, poisoned, and newly widowed. This poor woman had been through absolute hell in just 24 hours. Don't sweat it, sis. I got you. I locked in and started sniping from the canopy. Every single shot went straight for the dome. 0 wasted ammo. Thwack, thwack, thwack. The wolves started dropping like flies. Mayan just watched me, jaw completely on the floor, passing me her own quiver the second mine ran dry. By the time I finally stopped shooting, over a dozen dead wolves littered the forest floor. The few survivors were already backing away. Most ran away, but a few dozen stubborn ones refused to back down. And to make matters worse, my quiver was bone dry. Just 2 humans trapped in a tree, surrounded by a literal ocean of wolves. Completely out of ammo, until sudden realization hit me. Wait a minute, I'm literally perched up in a tree, right? Yeah, I've got 0 arrows left. And a semi-unconscious warrior waifu bleeding out next to me. But then, my brain finally did that thing. That beautiful, glorious clutch moment. The survival instinct that kicks in right before you die. Just craft some arrows, you absolute clown. You're in a tree. Trees are literally made of branches. And branches are basically just arrows that haven't unlocked their full potential yet. I immediately snapped off a thick branch. Mayan instantly caught on to the vibe, and whipped out a hidden dagger from her belt. Because of course she did. This absolute badass carries a tactical blade even while half dead. I started carving that wood into an arrow with insane speed. Wood chips were literally raining down on us like confetti. My first makeshift arrow flew straight into a wolf's stomach. It actually worked. Mayan stared at me like I just discovered fire. See? Your boy isn't actually a brain-dead NPC. Lady, I've been trying to tell everyone this for the last 3 days. I went into full-blown industrial sweatshop mode. Snap the branch, carve the tip. Shoot, delete. Snap, carve. Shoot, delete. A literal assembly line of death, dropping wolves left and right. Blood began pooling beneath our tree, turning the ground into the world's most cursed swimming pool. Suddenly, I spotted the alpha standing majestically on a rock, probably starting up some dramatic main character howl, giving his pack an inspirational pre-game speech about eating us alive. I sniped an arrow right through his dome mid-howl. With their boss instantly deleted, the entire pack lost their minds. They scattered like straight-up cockroaches. The second you flip the kitchen lights on. A few stragglers kept glaring back with pure hatred. So I sent warning shots whistling right past their ears. They finally took the hint and vanished into the woods. And that's when my body completely gave out like someone pulled the plug. I collapsed sideways right on top of the branch. And my face landed squarely on Mayan's lap. Passed out cold. But when I finally opened my eyes, there was a massive, embarrassing sweat stain on her thigh from my face. She was sitting there completely frozen, blushing furiously, not even daring to breathe because apparently, let's face it, having a guy's sweaty face pressed against your thigh creates a next-level awkward situation. Even in ancient China, like sorry about the wet spot, girl. But she just quietly pulled her leg back and didn't say a word. Hey, that's progress. We went from, I'll murder you if you tell anyone, to just silent embarrassment. See? We're building trust here. We ended up chilling in that tree for a while, mainly because wolves are sneaky, ambush-loving predators, and I was absolutely not about to get jump-scared by some furball, right after achieving my greatest military victory yet. So we just sat there in dead silence, scanning the forest floor. Out of nowhere, she hits me with, "Weren't you terrified?" I'm like, "Duh, obviously." Then she goes, "Then why didn't you just run? You could have easily escaped on your own. And leave you to die? No way." Hearing that, she choked up, completely speechless. Honestly, I think she genuinely believed her late husband was the only person who would ever actually care about her. So finding out that the village idiot also gave a crap about her? Yeah, that completely shattered her emotional walls. She just stared at me for a long, quiet moment. "What? Am I too handsome to look away from?" I smirked, and she instantly whipped her head away, but oh man, her entire face was already blushing the color of a bright red fire truck. Girl was married for 3 whole years, and she still gets flustered like a schoolgirl. Her late husband must have been the most gentlemanly guy on earth, or, wait a minute, hold up. 3 years of marriage and 0 kids. Was her ex not exactly performing in the bedroom? My inner doctor filed that information away for purely professional curiosity, of course. Finally, we heard voices echoing through the trees. It was the villagers. The village chief had actually brought a full-blown search party. When they spotted us up in that tree, surrounded by over 20 dead wolves, their jaws collectively hit the forest floor in pure shock. They helped us climb down, but Mayan's legs were absolute jelly. She instinctively grabbed my arm with both hands, so I held her by the waist. Look, it was purely supportive. There's nothing romantic about an exhausted, gorgeous huntress clinging for dear life to the exact guy who just saved her, all while her shirt was still a little messed up and open from that emergency field surgery I performed earlier. "Hey, what the hell do you think you're doing to my sister?" Suddenly, Xiao Long comes flying out of nowhere with his fist completely cocked back. Pure murder flashing in his eyes. This freaking kid. Seriously, I just saved his sister's life, and his immediate caveman instinct is to punch me in the face? Stop it. Mayan instantly jumped in to block him. He saved me. If it weren't for him, I'd be wolf food right now. Him? Xiao Long stammered. This dummy? What could he possibly even do? But before he could finish, she hit him with the ultimate death glare. At full power, he deflated faster than a popped balloon, and mumbled out the absolute most half-assed apology in human history. Sorry. Then he saw the pile of dead wolves and tried to hype her up. "Cease. You seriously took down all of these? You're insane." But actually, they're all his kills. Every single one. I was literally too weak to even pull back my bow. Hearing that, Xiao Long's brain straight up short-circuited. You could practically hear the Windows XP error sound playing. Before they headed out, Mayan leaned in close and whispered, "Don't you dare forget what you promised." My eyes instinctively glanced down toward her chest. Her face instantly went full nuclear red. Xiao Long caught me looking and looked ready to explode. His fists were shaking so hard. Honestly, if looks could kill, I would have been put in a casket 17 times over. But I didn't even give the little gremlin a second glance. "Just remember your promise," she huffed, stomping her foot. "Doctor-patient confidentiality. You have my word." She shot me one last complicated look before walking away. Meanwhile, the villagers were tallying up the bodies. Over 20 wolves. And they were all soloed by one guy camping in a tree with basic arrows. "Bro, you're gonna make an absolute fortune off these pelts. Beast Ridge Village finally has a legendary hero. We're putting this place on the map." Everyone was hyping me up as they started dragging the massive wolf carcasses down the mountain. The dark, depressing cloud from yesterday's tragedy was finally lifting, and actual smiles were returning to their faces. And while nobody was paying attention to me, I stealthily slipped away toward that hollow tree, secured my insanely valuable wild ginseng, stuffed it safely under my shirt, and casually blended back in with the crowd. I acted completely clueless, like I hadn't just pocketed a medicine worth more than their entire village. So, let's look at the Day 3 scorecard. Over 20 killer wolves slaughtered, 1 gorgeous huntress rescued and thoroughly checked out, and a literal jackpot of priceless ginseng secured. Oh, and apparently back at home my wife was actively trying to convince her own sister to marry me too. Honestly, not a bad haul for a guy who was starving and eating tree bark 4 days ago. But while I was busy playing the ultimate hero on that mountain, my family was going through absolute emotional torture back at the house. Z was standing right outside our rundown shack, staring up at the peaks like a deeply worried puppy. Why isn't he back yet, sis?
Basiga. Sis.
You've literally asked that 100 times. He's a beast, he'll be totally fine. Just then, Andy Wong came sprinting in like a harbinger of absolute doom. She ate dirt, scraped her knee, but didn't even care, just screaming. Wei Wei got ripped apart by wolves. She froze instantly, while Xiao Wu's face went completely ghost white. And where exactly did Andy Wong get this intel? From that absolute little rat, Xiao Wu. He literally told her, and I quote, "I saw him getting devoured with my own eyes." Saw it with his own eyes? This pint-sized punk, who can't even man up and apologize properly, just made up a whole fanfiction about me dying. Oh, he's going straight onto my hit list right under Xiao Menghe. Actually, scratch that. Way above Menghe. At least Menghe was upfront about wanting to murder me. She collapsed to the ground, sobbing her eyes out. Without him, how are we supposed to survive? But then, she grabbed her bow, determined to storm up the mountain to find me. My wife, heading straight into a wolf den, all alone, just to recover my supposedly chewed-up corpse. This girl has known me for a grand total of 2 days, and she's already prepared to die for me. Xiao Wu and Wong desperately tried to hold her back. That mountain is literally crawling with wolves. He would never abandon us. I'm going. Xiao ran after her, yelling, "Wherever you go, go." She screamed at her to turn back, but Xiao stood her ground. We go together or we don't go at all. Man, these sisters, they hit me right in the feels every single time. Then, like literal angels sent from above, a pack of kids came sprinting down the path, screaming the actual news. Your husband is a legendary wolf-slaying hero. More kids swarmed the area, practically vibrating with pure hype. Brother Wei was sniping wolves like they were target practice. One shot, one kill, bro. He was straight up boxing them with his bare hands, just knocking them out cold. And when the Wolf King tried to run, Brother Wei chased it down and literally ripped its head off. Okay. Yeah, absolutely none of that last part happened. These kids turned my survival story into some high-budget legendary superhero movie. But hey, in the kids' version, I'm him. So apparently I'm basically the Hulk with a bow now. Look, I appreciate the free PR, but I definitely did not rip anyone's head off with my bare hands. Right on cue, the villagers started rolling in, each carrying a massive dead wolf slung over their shoulders. The pile of carcasses in front of our tiny shack kept growing, until it literally looked like the world's most terrifying, gory buffet. That's when I finally stepped into view. Xiao Wu spotted me first and gasped, "It's him." Instantly, Z locked onto me like a heat-seeking missile, dropped her bow and sprinted full speed. She slammed into my chest with so much force. It nearly knocked me flat as she sobbed into my shirt, her hands frantically checking every inch of me, to make sure I was still in one piece. "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" She panicked. "Are you actually real?" "I'm totally fine," I reassured her. "I'm right here. Why are you crying like the world is ending? Did someone mess with you?" Xiao Long told everyone you got slaughtered. "Oh, that little punk." Mentally, I immediately added, "Waging psychological warfare against my family." Straight to Xiao Long's tab. "That kid owes me a massive apology. Actually, make that 3 apologies and maybe a kidney." I jokingly told Z to stop crying before she ruined her pretty face. Just like that, she flipped from devastated to doting wife mode. In less than 60 seconds, she rushed to get me water, grabbed a damp towel to wipe my face, brushed the dirt off my clothes, pulled up a chair, and served me a steaming hot bowl of rice. Seriously, this girl operates like a high-speed NASCAR pit crew. So there I was, casually eating my rice, while the entire village stood there staring, literally drooling at the smell of actual food. We didn't have nearly enough to feed the whole crowd, so Xiao Wu did the honors of handing out water instead. Meanwhile, the villagers were staring at the wolf pile doing the math. A single wolf pelt is easily worth 500 coins. And there's over 20 wolves here. This guy is about to be filthy rich. Even old Huang, the absolute legend who sold me priceless ginseng for 10 measly coins, was greedily rubbing his hands together. He could build a massive mansion with that, he muttered. Heck, he could probably afford 2 more wives. One of the village women scoffed jealously. Ugh, those Zhong sisters hit the absolute jackpot. They're literally set for the rest of their lives. Hearing the envy, Z and Xiao Wu just grinned from ear to ear. Their once useless, smelly husband had just turned out to be a literal gold mine. So I strutted right over to my two stunning girls, feeling like the undisputed king of the world. I casually wrapped my arms right around their waists, smooth operator style, totally natural. They didn't even have time to react yet, when my hands casually drifted south and landed on both of their cheeks, yes, simultaneously, right in front of the entire village. Look, I've slain vicious wolves, outsmarted local bullies, performed literal emergency surgery, and negotiated deals like a ruthless Wall Street banker. But I still have the impulse control of a hormonal teenage boy. Both girls instantly gasped and swatted my hands away, their faces absolutely burning red. Thank God. The villagers were way too busy gossiping to notice. I literally just double-cheeked my wife and sister-in-law, out in broad daylight. If we weren't in public, these two would have straight up died of embarrassment right there. But here's the kicker, they didn't actually seem mad, just totally flustered. Oh yeah, filing that information away for later. But alright, back to business. We had 37 massive wolves piled up outside my shack. Literally 37. My front yard looked like a straight-up scene from a werewolf apocalypse. But now we had a major logistics problem. How the hell do you transport 37 dead wolves to the city? With 0 vehicles? The only ride in this entire village was the chief's janky wooden pushcart, which was basically just a wooden plank with big dreams. Completely useless. Note to self: invent the wagon. Add that to the priority list right under. Build a bigger bed and take out Chow. Just then, the chief showed up and told me we had to haul these wolves to Chow County before nightfall. Surprisingly, every single villager volunteered to help carry them. It's funny how fast people step up when there's serious cash on the line. The chief started handpicking the carriers. But the entire village has less than 200 people, and it's mostly elderly folks, women, and kids. So finding 37 volunteers meant recruiting some wives. And the older kids as well. Right on cue, Fuxing and Cripple arrived with updates. The premium hardwood for the crossbow was delivered to Linger, and the wolf-repelling herbs were already washed and drying out on the rocks. My squad was running like a well-oiled machine. Just 3 days ago, I was literally eating tree bark. Now, I'm basically running a full-scale military operation. Z and Xiao came running up, begging to join the squad. I gently brushed a stray lock of hair behind Z's ear, smooth operator style, pure romance, and told them they had a way more critical mission. They needed to lead the village women and kids in manufacturing custom wolf-repellent powder. I broke down the secret recipe for the whole crowd. Dry out the mugwort, jack in the pulpit, and buttercup, grind them into dust and blend them together. The mugwort completely jams a wolf's super smell. The jack in the pulpit is toxic enough to make them back off instantly, and the buttercup burns worse than military-grade pepper spray. One kid looked up, amazed, and asked how I knew all this. Just read a lot of books, kid. Yeah, books from a literal parallel dimension. Same difference. Z was staring at me, totally mesmerized. And even Xiao Wu had this incredibly complex look on her face. A mix of pure awe and absolute confusion. As to why the notorious village idiot suddenly knew more than any high-ranking scholar she'd ever met. I sent the villagers off to gather cloth pouches to store the powder, then pulled my wives inside and locked the door behind us. Time for the grand reveal. I whipped out the hidden ginseng from under my shirt. The thing was practically glowing in the daylight. Z's eyes went wide as dinner plates. Is that actual ginseng? Turns out, with her dad being a former high-ranking government official, he had once received a piece of ginseng as a bribe from another politician. But it was an absolute joke compared to this absolute beast. This thing is easily 20 to 30 years old, I bragged. Extremely rare. I explained that while I originally wanted to flip it for quick cash, the wolf pelts would bring in more than enough money. So, they were going to keep this beauty, brewing it into daily tea to seriously boost their health. Instantly, both sisters' eyes welled up with tears. Seriously, these girls cry more than a daytime soap opera. But honestly, every single time they tear up, it hits me right in the feels. My eyes drifted down to Z's lips, soft, slightly parted, and totally inviting. I leaned in and kissed her, a real passionate one. Husband, stop. I can't take this. Xiao Wu's face flushed a deep crimson as she squirmed out of my embrace and spun around, totally flustered, looking like she just witnessed a murder. No way you're tapping out already, I teased, pulling Z in for another kiss. And boom, she went completely limp, full noodle mode, shaking and gasping for air. She leaned against me like her entire skeleton had just melted. Seriously, 2 kisses and this girl turned into straight-up jello. My brain instantly started running the numbers. If 2 kisses can do this to her, what's gonna happen on the wedding night? We might honestly need to call an ambulance. Oh wait. I'm the doctor here. I glanced over at our tiny bed. Mental note. Upgrade, build a bigger bed to the absolute top of my priority list. I let her go before she actually passed out. Promised I'd be back before sunset, and headed out. Behind me, I heard Xiao whispering to Z. How is my brother-in-law this cracked? If he's this talented, why was he living in absolute poverty before? Excellent question, little Spitfire. The short answer involves an interdimensional soul transmigration. But let's go ahead and save that talk for never. My first stop was Linger's workshop. She was already hammer forging the crossbow parts, absolutely drenched in sweat, hair plastered to her face, and her clothes sticking to her back. With the forge blazing hot behind her, she looked like an absolute blacksmith goddess. I gave her the exact specs for the crossbows, trigger mechanism and string tension. She locked in, absorbing every detail without missing a beat, and promised to have it ready before nightfall. This girl literally lost her brother last night, yet she's already back on the grind, forging weapons to get her revenge. Iron Linger is built different. She's made of literal steel. I caught up with the crew hauling the wolves over to Chao County. 40 villagers marching down the main road, each carrying a massive dead wolf over their shoulders. We looked like the most metal funeral procession on the planet. Locals from the neighboring villages stopped dead in their tracks, staring at us jaw-dropped. 37 wolves, paraded around by a ragtag squad of starving peasants, all led by the guy everyone used to call the town idiot. Life comes at you fast in the Yongxing dynasty, and every single village we passed on the way to Chao County was about to find out. Everyone literally stopped dead in their tracks to stare, like we were some sort of parade straight out of hell. Picture 40 ragged peasants marching in a perfect line, and every single one of them is lugging a massive, dead wolf. We straight up looked like the world's most terrifying DoorDash order. How on earth did you pull this off? Did you hire high-rank hunters? But we didn't have time to chit-chat because the clock was ticking. We needed to cash in on these wolves and get back home before sunset. Because guess what? The wolves that survived the massacre might decide to make a comeback. Tonight for round 2. Once we reached the city gates, the guards' jaws hit the floor and they nearly dropped their spears. Inside the city, citizens were completely losing their minds. People were pointing, whispering, and totally freaked out. Wait, what village are they from? They must be a village of elite heroes. Our chief was strutting with his chest puffed out so far, you'd think he magically grew 3 whole inches on the spot. Even the absolute skinniest, most malnourished villager was flexing like they were on a Paris runway. Honestly, nothing boosts your confidence quite like carrying absolute proof that you are no longer at the bottom of the food chain. Fu Xing quickly rented out a prime market stall, and the second we dumped the wolves, an insane crowd swarmed us. Business was absolutely booming. Traders, wealthy merchants, and random curious onlookers, everyone wanted a piece of the action. Within just 30 minutes, we'd sold nearly 20 wolves for a crazy 600 to 850 copper each. I started doing some quick mental math, and my brain was literally ringing with the sweet sound of cash. But then, Seichi walked up. A gorgeous woman wearing an insanely expensive teal dress. She wasn't some drop-dead gorgeous model, but she looked incredibly sharp, clean and filthy rich, basically the kind of woman who walks into a room and immediately commands absolute silence. Her eyes scanned our wolves like a ruthless CEO, auditing inventory. So, you guys are all from the same village? Yes, miss. Fu Xing nodded like an eager puppy. Just how many hunters does your village actually have? She asked. And our local cripple, bless his sweet, incredibly dense heart, immediately blurted out, just one. And he literally soloed all of. Before he could finish, the chief slapped his hand over his mouth. So insanely fast it made a loud, echoing crack. Haha, he's totally joking. Just a little village humor. This was a total team effort. The entire village pitched in. Incredibly dangerous. Took us forever to take them down. Fu Xing instantly backed him up, spinning a wild, dramatic tale about our imaginary elite wolf hunting squad. Smart move on my part. If word leaked that a single guy wiped out 37 wolves, I'd either get drafted into the military, or taken out by someone who saw me as a massive threat. Yeah, neither option sounds fun. I caught a flash of disappointment in her eyes. She was desperate to track down whoever pulled this off, but she recovered instantly, offering to buy the rest of the pack. 800 coins a pop, as long as we delivered them to her warehouse. Easiest deal of my life. No negotiating needed. She whipped out a pouch of silver, like it was literal pocket change. This woman had more cash in her purse than my entire village sees in a whole year. We taggered along behind her to a place called Fortune Gathering Hall. A massive estate with towering red doors, imposing stone lions, elegant pavilions, and lush gardens. They even had custom-made ponds and mini-mountains. It was decked out with enough hand-carved pillars to make a king jealous. The chief leaned in and whispered, "Pretty sure this is the legendary Su family mansion. Literally the richest dynasty in Chao County." I stared at that jaw-dropping compound, clenching my fists. 3 days ago, I was eating tree bark to survive. Today, I'm delivering high-end cargo to a literal mansion. Just give me 1 month. In 30 days, I'm gonna own a place exactly like this. The lady who went by Wang Xinxiao and seemed to run the place gave us a final heads up. Bring us whatever you hunt next. Wolves, bears, leopards, or even tigers. We'll pay top dollar. The villagers were practically salivating. An exclusive, filthy rich buyer right on our doorstep. Yeah, Christmas definitely came early to Beast Ridge. We headed out completely clueless about the drama unfolding the second we left. Turns out, behind those luxury gates, Wang Xinxiao was reporting straight to her boss, Su Yao. She was a stunning, ice-cold beauty draped in pure white, casually reading ancient business scrolls, in a room that smelled of incredibly expensive incense. This girl was basically the Elon Musk of ancient China, just way better looking and infinitely smarter. Suddenly, their head of security, Sun Irin, this sharp-eyed, dangerous-looking bodyguard, dropped a total bombshell. "My lady." All 19 wolves were taken down by the exact same killer. Wang Xinxiao gasped, "That's impossible. Who could actually pull that off?" Sun Irin replied, "Trust me. I've tracked beasts for a lifetime. Every single wound is identical. Same angle, same deadly force. It's the exact same weapon. One shooter." Su Yao's eyebrows shot through the roof. A single person took down 19 wolves. The crippled guy blurted out that it was just one guy, before someone quickly shut him up. But Wang Xinxiao finally spilled the beans. Su Yao's eyes lit up like she'd just struck pure gold. "Bring them to me. Anyone who can solo an entire wolf pack like that is a straight-up powerhouse. I need to meet them." Wang Xinxiao dashed out to track us down. So now the wealthiest woman in Shao County is on a manhunt for the legendary mystery wolf slayer. Meanwhile, that very same slayer is casually power-walking back home, loaded with a sack of silver, a high-grade ginseng worth a fortune, and 2 gorgeous wives who think he's the ultimate jigachad. Yeah, my stock is skyrocketing right now. Before making it back to our place, I pulled the squad into a quiet alleyway for payday. I'd already treated the whole crew to some tea, and 2 massive, juicy meat buns each. They looked like they just won the lottery, just from the snacks alone. But then I started handing out the real cash. 100 copper coins for every single person. "Bro, this is way too much," the older villagers protested. "We usually only get 20 or 30 coppers for a haul." I literally forced the money into their hands. "If you guys hadn't carried those wolves for 2 hours straight, I'd still be sitting out there next to a pile of rotting carcasses. We're a team, and a real team splits the bag." They finally took it, grinning from ear to ear like kids on Christmas. 100 coins is literally a month's worth of food for these families. I just secured a month of groceries for 40 households, just for helping me walk. I pulled the village chief aside and slipped him an extra 200. On the down low, he tried to play it humble and refuse, but I shoved it into his hands. "You run this entire village. You deserve the bonus." He patted my shoulder, telling me I was destined for big things. Crazy to think that just 3 days ago, he watched me marry the cursed, jinxed wife that nobody wanted. Now he thinks I'm the chosen one. It's wild how fast money changes the vibe. Quick math. Those 37 wolves sold for a whopping 26,270 copper. After paying for the snacks and wages, I walked away with about 21,960. And I immediately converted most of it into solid silver bars. Checking in at the local money exchange, We literally went from chewing on tree bark to stacking silver bars in just 3 days. Honestly, if my life were a stock chart, the line would be shooting straight to the moon. After sending the chief and the villagers ahead, I decided to make one final stop. I'd overheard someone gossiping at the bun shop about these legendary Taishir cakes. They're premium pastries, with a history dating back to the Shang dynasty, crafted with high-grade flour, pure honey, and elite nuts. Basically, ultra-expensive luxury-tier food. 20 cakes cost a whopping 200 coins. I paid without even blinking, and the shop girl almost fainted on the spot. Immediately, the other customers started whispering, "Look at his raggedy-ass clothes. Buying luxury cakes? He's definitely just showing off. He probably stole that money anyway. Just another broke peasant trying to flex." How incredibly pathetic. But you know what? People back in my modern life talked the exact same way. I guess some things are just universal across dimensions. Elitists draped in silk, judging a poor person for daring to treat themselves to something nice. Real classy, lady. Maybe worry about the 5 pounds of makeup caked on your face before you start judging my financial decisions. But I just walked out without saying a word. Today, I'm way too rich and happy to waste energy fighting with snobs. Then, suddenly, hey, wait up. I spun around and saw Wang Xinxiao, the elite manager from the prestigious Su estate. Turns out, she'd been actively hunting me down. She held out 2 shiny silver coins. "I'll pay you for intel. Who actually slaughtered those wolves?" I pocketed the cash instantly, of course, and told her it was our entire village hunting squad. A massive group effort, super collaborative. Yay, teamwork. But she snapped, "You're lying. Every single one of those wounds came from the exact same person." Okay, my blood went a little cold there. Did this woman seriously have a forensics expert on her payroll? Apparently, they had autopsied the wolf corpses and meticulously analyzed the strike patterns. We've got CSI, ancient China over here. So I doubled down, nope, definitely a team effort. Anyway, I'm just a simple guy from Oxhorn Village, and I've got to rush home to hug my beautiful wife. Bye. And with that, I power walked out of there so fast I was practically sprinting. She chased me for a bit before finally throwing in the towel. But I could still feel her suspicious gaze, burning absolute holes in my back. Now here's why I had to lie. This world is a straight-up dog-eat-dog survival game. If some powerful, wealthy clan catches wind that a lone rookie single-handedly deleted 37 wolves, one of 2 things is bound to happen. They either forcibly recruit me, stripping away my freedom, or they label me a threat and literally take my head. Yeah, neither of those options vibe with me right now. I need to grind and level up in secret first. Only then can I finally show my true cards. Plus, I casually dropped the name Oxhorn Village on her, which was a complete and utter lie that I pulled straight out of thin air. Honestly, pretty high IQ for a total panic move. Once I made it outside the city gates, Fu Xing and the crippled uncle were waiting for me, backed up by 3 other solid dudes. The chief had sent them as an escort because, let's be real, I was hauling enough raw silver to buy a whole mansion, and strolling solo through bandit-infested territory was probably not my brightest idea. We finally regrouped, and I could finally let out a sigh of relief. But what I didn't realize was the absolute chaos unfolding back at the Su Manor the second I stepped out. Wang Xinxiao rushed straight back to her boss, Su Yao, the cold-hearted, legendary ice queen of business, and reported, "He claims he's from a place called Oxhorn Village." Hearing this, Su Yao burst out laughing like, genuinely chuckled. "You got played, girl. Oxhorn Village sits on flat plains, surrounded entirely by water. No mountains, no deep forests, and absolutely 0 wolves. The legendary, mysterious wolf slayer had fed them a completely fabricated identity, slipping away into the shadows like a total ghost. Now, deep inside that massive estate, the most powerful, ultra-rich woman in the entire region was suddenly extremely obsessed with uncovering who I actually was. Meanwhile, walking down the dusty road back home, I was casually flipping her 2 silver coins in my hand, laughing at the fact that the cash I'd spent on those gourmet treats had just been literally 100% refunded by the very person trying to track me down. Seriously, the universe just keeps rewarding my hustle. God, I love this historical life. But meanwhile, back at the Su estate, Wang Xinxiao was having an absolute, full-blown meltdown. That little scammer. I literally gave him 2 silver coins, and he straight up gave me a fake village name. I swear, I'm gonna find him and cut his tongue out. But Su Yao stops her, waving her fancy fan, and says, he's long gone, just let it go. Then, their head of security, Sun Iran, asks the real question here. Why would they even lie? I mean, wiping out an entire wolf pack should be a massive flex. But Su Yao's high IQ brain is already 3 steps ahead. He's probably laying low to avoid the military draft. Think about it. A god-tier sniper would be forced into the army the second the government found out. Especially during wartime, they desperately need elite archers. And honestly, wow, I hadn't even thought of that. But yeah, if the local officials find out, some random dude in a backwater village can solo entire wolf packs, they'd slap heavy armor on me faster than I could say. But wait, I've got 2 wives at home. So yeah, pretty smart move on my part. Accidentally smart, but still smart. Then, Su Yao drops her absolute masterstroke. The next time those villagers come to trade, announce that my father wants to marry me off to this mysterious wolf-slaying hero, and offer a whole silver tail for any solid lead on his identity. Wang Xianzhao's eyes immediately light up. Genius! So, the richest heiress in the entire county is literally using herself as bait. Just to flush me out? Marry the hero. That's a textbook trap. And knowing how fast gossip travels in ancient China, every single greedy villager within a 50-mile radius is about to race to snitch on me, just to claim that massive silver bounty.
I'm flattered.
Terrified, and low-key curious about what she looks like, but yeah, mostly terrified. Suddenly, a servant bursts into the room. Su Yao's father has just collapsed. His chronic illness flared up and it's bad. Even the legendary miracle-working divine doctor Hua declared that his case is completely hopeless. Su Yao's calm composure shatters in an instant. She commands them to prep a carriage and rushes out, clenching her fists so hard her nails dig deep into her palms. Man, rich people have their own issues, I guess. Living in a giant mansion. But your dad is dying and literally nobody can cure him. Interesting. Actually, very interesting. Because I just so happen to be a medical genius from the future, with a high-grade, 30-year-old ginseng stashed right in my house. But she is completely clueless about what's coming next. Cut back to the village. We barely made it back before total darkness hit. And right there, lurking at the edge of the mountain, those damn wolf shadows were back. The pack is returning. The chief immediately started barking out orders. Everyone scrambled, desperately grabbing weapons and torches. But my squad held the line with me, Fushing the cripple and those 3 young rookies. All eyes were locked on me, waiting for my signal. I ordered the cripple to check if Linger had finished the heavy crossbow, then grabbed the rest and sprinted home. And what I saw there, honestly, it made my chest swell with absolute pride. Z and Xiao Wu had literally mobilized every single person left in the village. The elderly, the women, even the kids, all turned into a full-blown wolf-repellent sweatshop. Z was slicing up medicinal herbs like a 5-star Michelin chef, while Xiao Wu was crushing powder with a wooden pestle. Muscles I didn't even know she possessed flexing with every single strike. The old-timers were sifting the powder. Through makeshift bamboo screens, the village wives were whipping up the secret formulas, and the kids were sprinting back and forth with supplies, like little miniature logistics managers. My wife had literally transformed a bunch of terrified civilians into a highly efficient pharmaceutical assembly line. I hadn't even asked her to organize a defense. She just took charge. But right then, a blood-curdling wolf howl echoed outside.
Instant paralysie.
Everyone froze. Then absolute panic ensued. Women grabbed their kids and bolted. The old men shuffled away, and within 30 seconds flat, the entire operation was completely deserted. Well, except for Annie Wong and her 2 kids. "Girls, you need to hide inside right now," Wong pleaded. "But we have the wolf repellent. We're not backing down." Xiao stood her ground, chin held high, tiny fists clenched and ready. "Can you actually guarantee it works?" Xiao opened her mouth, then instantly closed it. Yeah, she couldn't answer that one. Wong grabbed her kids and left, leaving the 2 sisters completely isolated, with nothing but half-finished medicine, and the sound of wolves closing in fast. Xie gritted her teeth, barking, "Inside now!" Suddenly, heavy footsteps echoed, giving them both a near-fatal heart attack. But it was just me, sprinting furiously around the corner. "It's brother-in-law." Both girls rushed toward me, like I was the final rescue chopper evacuating a war zone.
Immediately dispatch the Fu.
I left Xing and the boys to finish brewing the cure, then hauled Z straight into the room. Immediately, she started reaching for a cup of water to serve me, because this woman's absolute first instinct in any given situation is to pamper me, but instead, I grabbed her, pulled her in tight, and kissed her straight on the lips. No polite fourid kisses, nos chaicheek. Pecs, just straight up passion. Sure, wolves were howling outside. The village was in total crisis, the medicine was only half prepped, and an entire army of bloodthirsty predators was closing in. Yet here I was making out with my wife. But honestly, after single-handedly slaying 37 wolves, outsmarting a ruthless, wealthy businesswoman, securing black market stolen ginseng, performing emergency open-chest surgery on a huntress, and surviving 3 brutal days in ancient China, I've more than earned this kiss. Z completely melted in my arms, but as we parted, she felt something incredibly hard, pressing against her from my chest pocket. Husband, what exactly is in your shirt? Now, before your mind goes to the gutter, it was actually cold, hard cash, a heavy pouch of silver. I whipped it out and dropped it right into her hands. She opened it, and her eyes nearly popped right out of her skull. Is this 20 taels of silver? To put things in perspective, 20 taels could buy a massive, gorgeous estate. Just 3 days ago, our most valuable possession was literally leftover tree bark. And this is only the beginning. I smirked, telling her we were about to make a whole lot more. She quickly shoved the silver under the bed, to hide it with yesterday's massive haul. At this point, our mattress is literally sitting on top of a mountain of cash. More money than most of these villagers will ever see in their entire lives. We are quite literally sleeping on a fortune. And then, she did something that completely short-circuited my brain. She leaped into my arms and passionately kissed me back. For the very first time, she actually initiated it, calling me her amazing husband. It only took 3 days to speedrun our relationship from "please don't beat me" to sweet, spontaneous makeout sessions. My romance progression is absolutely off the charts. But then, the door slammed open with a loud bang. Xiao stood there, frozen, staring dead at her sister wrapped tightly in my arms, our lips still inches apart. Z instantly launched herself backward like she'd been struck by lightning, her face flushing redder than the surface of Mars. "The wolves are here," Xiao screamed. Thankfully, they were way too panicked to roast us about getting caught kissing. We instantly grabbed our bows and bolted straight outside. And there they were, a dozen massive wolf shadows, creeping toward the village under the eerie moonlight. Glowing green eyes and low-slung tails, just testing our defenses. Alright, time to field test this homemade wolf repellent. I strapped a pouch of the toxic herb powder right onto an arrowhead, pulled the string back and let it fly straight into the middle of the pack. Boom! The bag exploded right on impact. A massive, foul-smelling cloud of dust completely swallowed the wolves. Bro, they absolutely lost their minds, howling in agony. They were whimpering and tripping over each other, desperately trying to escape. I swear it was like watching someone set off a nuclear stink bomb at a crowded dog park. They retreated to a safe distance, but they didn't fully clear out. They just lurked in the shadows, totally terrified of the stench, but way too starved to just give up and leave. It actually worked. Z and Xiao cheered at the exact same time. "They'll be back," I warned them. "Keep grinding and make some more." I pulled my wives back inside and asked if they had even eaten yet. Turns out it was just bland porridge and wild greens all over again. Zero meat ever since we ran out of goose. So, I whipped out my ultimate secret weapon. A stash of Tashir cakes. We're talking premium, high-tier ancient pastries. "Wait, the good stuff?" Xiao gasped.
Actual Taisir Kakes.
Her eyes immediately went wide as dinner plates. "You are officially my favorite brother-in-law. Seriously, you're the absolute best." She beamed. And I swear, it looked like she wanted to kiss me right then and there, but her older sister was standing right next to us. "Hey, progress, little spicy pepper. Progress." Xiao Wu literally inhaled 3 whole cakes in like 90 seconds flat. I had to tell her to slow down before she choked herself out. Meanwhile, Z ate like a true lady, taking tiny, delicate bites, before suddenly bursting into tears. "Wait, why are you crying? You're just too good to us, husband. Look, please, I can handle bloodthirsty wolves, arrogant bullies and deadly poisonous bugs, but I absolutely cannot handle you crying while eating pastries. Completely destroys me." I leaned down and kissed her forehead, making her turn bright pink as she smiled through her tears. But right on cue, The front door explodes open yet again. Does literally nobody knock in this freaking dynasty? Linger burst into the room like a tiny, chaotic hurricane. The heavy crossbow is officially finished. She proudly hoisted it in the air like Simba from The Lion King, its bronze frame gleaming beautifully under the flickering lamplight. My blueprint, her legendary craftsmanship. Our ultimate brainchild. So I asked, can this baby hit 150 paces? I crunched the numbers. Assuming one pace is roughly 1.3 meters, that gives us a lethal kill range of about 200 meters. In an era where standard bows max out at a measly 50 to 80 meters, tops, this masterpiece was basically a medieval sniper rifle. I stepped outside, wolves still lurking in the shadows. Like sleep paralysis demons. Take a deep breath, lock in and squeeze the trigger. Thwack! A wolf 200 meters away. Dropped instantly, like someone flipped its off switch. Clean headshot.
Beside me, Linger.
Jumped so high she almost achieved escape velocity. No time to waste. I reloaded and fired again. Another wolf face-planted hard into the dirt. Boom! The crowd went absolutely wild, cheering and screaming. I kept pulling the trigger, and every single bolt found its mark. The surviving wolves finally realized that whatever was waiting in this village was not worth dying for, and they scattered into the dark. But suddenly, more howling echoed from the west side. Round 2. Baby. Everyone on me. I led the charge, crossbow primed and ready, with Zhou and Xiao backing me up with their bows. Fuxing and the rest of the boys followed close behind, armed with wolf-repellent smoke bombs and pitchforks. Honestly, we looked like the most chaotic ragtag militia in human history. Suddenly, wolves burst out from behind a hut. We let fly. 3 of them dropped instantly from our volley, but they just kept coming. We were getting outnumbered. Fuxing and Linger started chucking the herbal stink bombs. Poof, poof, poof. Massive, foul clouds erupted everywhere, sending the wolves running. We pressed the advantage, shooting them on the run. My crossbow felt like a fully automatic weapon. Load, fire, repeat. Zhou and Xiao were sniping targets in the pitch black, like seasoned veterans, not people who just learned to shoot yesterday. Fuxing and the boys went toe-to-toe with any beast that got too close, swinging carrying poles and sickles like absolute medieval madmen. It was pure, unadulterated, terrifying chaos, and easily the most badass moment of my life. Just 3 days ago we were a village of starving nobodies. Tonight we were an army. 30 minutes of absolute, unadulterated slaughter later, over 30 massive wolves lay dead on the cold ground, leaving only a lucky few to flee, scurrying away with their tails tucked between their legs. The entire village square looked straight out of a horror movie. Blood painted the dirt crimson, and mangled wolf corpses were scattered around like furry speed bumps. Just then, the village chief finally arrived with reinforcements, only to realize we'd already completely wiped the floor with the pack. Bro, the looks on their faces were absolutely priceless. Jaw drop city. We immediately passed out the remaining wolf repellent to the other squads and did a sweep of the rest of the village. From the south side to the east gate, we cleared out every single corner. Took about an hour before a peaceful, eerie quiet fell over the village. Finally, everyone gathered at the center plaza, and Main and Xiao Long showed up too, decked out in full gear. The village is completely secure, Main reported, panting heavily. Suddenly, the crowd erupted. I'm talking raw cheers, emotional hugs, and tears of pure relief. These people legitimately thought they were going to die tonight, and now they were celebrating a miracle. And let's be real, without Yi-Wei's custom crossbow and stinky repellent, the village would have been looking at a massive body count. That legendary crossbow was pure cheat code magic in his hands. One shot, one absolute kill every single time. And those stink bombs? Man, they had those terrifying beasts running like they'd sat on hot coals. Annie Wong was openly weeping. For the first time in my entire life, the wolves breached our gates, and not a single soul died. Yeah, that hit different. For generations, these villagers had lived in absolute terror. The wolves would raid, people would get slaughtered, and everyone just accepted it as their grim fate. But tonight, they finally stood their ground and won. All because of a badass crossbow I designed, some secret herbs I personally identified, and a brilliant blacksmith girl who forged the weapon. While channeling the grief of losing her brother, I suddenly caught Maine staring at me, her eyes reflecting this surprisingly soft, admiring look under the gentle moonlight. She was looking at me, like I was actually someone worth paying attention to. The weak, useless nobody she had completely dismissed yesterday was suddenly the most interesting guy in her world. Of course, Xiao Long noticed his sister staring, and his fists clenched so incredibly tight. I honestly thought he was about to pop a blood vessel on the spot. And then, the salty little gremlin just couldn't help himself. Pfft. What's so impressive about that? Just hand me that weapon and I could easily do the exact same thing. Xiao Long immediately hyped himself up, yelling, "Oh yeah! Oh really? Then go slay a few dozen wolves yourself. But they're already dead. Where am I even supposed to find wolves now? Fine. Go deal with some bandits then. You know, the Poison Snake Mountain Gang? They raid us every single month to steal our food and kidnap our women. Go take them out." Trying to look like a total badass, Xiao Long puffed out his chest. "Bet. If I actually wipe out those bandits, what's in it for me? I'll treat you right forever. Deal? I'm on it." And just like that, he bolted straight into the pitch black. Mayan instantly panicked and sprinted after him, screaming, "Xiao Long, stop right there." But he was already long gone. Honestly, that kid has the survival instincts of a lemming. But just mentioning the bandits completely killed the party vibe. In an instant, everyone's face filled with pure dread. They're coming in exactly 5 days to collect tribute. Last year, they took 3 of our girls. And we don't even know if they're still alive. If we dare to resist, they'll slaughter the entire village. Man, just one nightmare after another. Turns out, the wolves weren't even our biggest threat. It was these bandits, and their arrival was ticking down. Z immediately scolded Xiao Wu for baiting Xiao Long into a
Literal suicide mission.
But Xiao Wu just crossed her arms defensively. "He literally told everyone you died today. He made my sister cry her eyes out. And then he has the audacity to mock you to your face? I don't regret a thing." Okay, fair point. She's a feisty little thing, but she's not wrong. I told the chief to take care of the wolf carcasses, and started heading home with my girls. But when I glanced back over my shoulder, there was Linger standing all by herself watching me leave, with the most heartbreaking, lost expression. "Linger! Come on!" Her entire face instantly lit up. She practically jogged to catch up, and we walked down the moonlit path. But then her stomach let out this massive growl. In the dead silence of the night, it literally sounded like a minor earthquake. She immediately slammed her hands over her tummy, her face flushing as red as a ripe tomato. She couldn't even look at me. "Did you eat anything today?" She mumbled. "Just one persimmon cake. Are you kidding me? A single persimmon cake." This girl spent the entire day crafting a heavy-duty crossbow, hammering metal and sweating over a blazing furnace, literally doing the grueling work of 3 blacksmiths. She tried to play it off, but her stomach betrayed her with another massive growl. Seriously, her own body was basically calling her a liar at this point. Stepping inside the shack, I practically shoved a bag of gourmet Taishan cakes into her hands. "Eat up." She hesitated, whispering, "I'm really not hungry." "Listen, if you don't eat, you're officially fired from crossbow duty." Z gently placed a hand on her arm. "Don't be shy, sweetie. They're absolutely amazing." Xiao nodded along like a bobblehead. "Seriously, if you don't eat, we're gonna take it personally." With trembling hands, Linger finally picked up a single pastry. She stared at it like it was a holy relic, then took the tiniest little bite. Instantly, her eyes went wide. "Wait, is this a Taishan cake? My sister-in-law told me about these. She said normal families could never afford this. Not even once a year." She held that single bite in her mouth, refusing to chew or swallow. She just sat there, savoring it, like she was trying to lock the flavor into her memory forever, scared she'd never get to taste something this good again. And then the waterworks started. Massive tears began rolling down her cheeks as she slowly chewed. "Hey, what's wrong? Why are you crying?" "It's just, I've never tasted anything this delicious in my life. You guys are being so incredibly nice to me." Man, looking at her. She's only 17 and she just lost her brother. She spent the entire day building a deadly weapon of war for us, surviving on nothing but a single piece of dried fruit. And now she's literally weeping, just because someone gave her a sweet pastry and treated her with basic human decency. I glanced over at Z, and her eyes were already welling up too. Even Xiao was aggressively blinking back tears. Picture this, we're huddled in a rundown shack, sharing luxury cakes by the warm glow of candlelight, while wolf blood is literally drying on the dirt right outside. This is my family now. The wife who welcomed me with a kiss. The sister-in-law who's finally starting to warm up to me. And this adorable blacksmith girl crying over a pastry. I am going to protect them with my life. No wolves, no power-tripping bullies. No ruthless bandits, and definitely no snobby, rich businesswomen. Nobody is going to touch a single hair on their heads. I gently patted Linger on the shoulder. You built the very crossbow that saved our lives today. You earned every bit of this. She immediately shook her head in a panic, like I just accused her of a crime. No, no, no. You're the one who actually fought off those beasts. But right then, my wife decided to drop an absolute bombshell on the conversation. Linger, trust me. My husband doesn't treat just any ordinary girl this nicely. Why don't you just marry him? Wait, excuse me. Linger's face instantly flushed from pink to deep red, turning absolute burgundy in less than half a second. My jaw hit the floor, while Zhao's eyes nearly popped out of her skull. I am not even old enough to get married yet. Linger stammered nervously. Well, you're close enough. You two could get engaged right now. I'd have to get my sister-in-law's permission first. Maybe later then. Bro, my wife is out here actively recruiting concubines for me. Like she's drafting players for a fantasy sports league. She isn't even jealous. She's literally doing HR talent acquisition. Linger quickly ate one pastry and tried to make her escape, but Z forced another one right into her hands. She shoved it down her shirt and bolted out the door, but stopped for a split second to yell back. Do not teach anyone else how to build that crossbow. It's our little secret. Smart girl. Even while suffering a major existential crisis, she's still out here protecting our intellectual property. But before she could fully escape, I dropped an absolute bombshell. Hey, how would you like to build a repeating crossbow? An auto-reloader. It fires rapid-fire bolts without you having to manually reload each time. Her eyes instantly went wide as dinner plates. Wait, that actually exists? Z and Xiao were just as stunned by the concept. So, I sat right down and sketched out the entire design. A repeating crossbow equipped with a spring-loaded mechanism that automatically feeds the next bolt after every single shot. I painstakingly detailed every single component. The bow arm, the trigger assembly, the integrated ammo feeding channel, and the tension spring crafted from hammer dog tendon. Linger's nose was practically glued to the parchment paper. When I finally finished, she stared blankly at the blueprint, like I had just shown her actual proof of alien life. You can build this, but the spring tension has to be incredibly precise. You'll need to drill holes right here, and install the feeding mechanism at this exact angle. She immediately started firing off highly technical questions. Won't it jam? What's the best material to use for the spring? And she actually fully understood my explanations. I swear, this girl is literally centuries ahead of every single engineer in this entire dynasty, and she doesn't even realize it yet. She snatched up the blueprints and bolted straight into the dark night to start building it. Hey, don't pull an all-nighter, I yelled out at her rapidly disappearing silhouette. Though she was running so fast she probably didn't even hear me. She clearly couldn't care less. Right then, Z slid up to me. Hey, hubby. You seriously need to lock things down with Linger before some other guy swoops in and steals her away. Wait, are you seriously trying to play matchmaker for me right now? But she was dead serious. Your big brain ideas only work when they're paired with her elite crafting skills. Besides, it's totally normal for a powerful man to have concubines. Can we focus on us first? We haven't even, sealed the deal yet. Her face instantly went thermonuclear red. She quickly looked over to make sure Xiao Wu wasn't listening. Crisis averted. Time for bed. Once again, we were packed like sardines on a tiny bed. My hand slowly wandered over to Zi's thigh. She grabbed it instantly. I glanced at Xiao Wu, who seemed fast asleep, then leaned over and whispered, Tomorrow, I'm building us a massive house. Z whispered back, the moment we get our own room. Make sure you make me yours. Oh damn, say less. I want you right now, I whispered back, my fingers slowly creeping toward her waistband. She caught my hand, planted a quick kiss on my lips, and whispered, not with my sister literally right next to us. Ugh, talk about blue bills. Fine. Kiss me 10 more times, and I promise to behave tonight. She peeked over at Xiao Wu, who was suspiciously facing the wall, completely stiff. Then, she started peppering kisses all over my face. 1, 2, 3, and we ended up in a full-on makeout session. Yeah, Xiao Wu was definitely awake. She was 100% just pretending to sleep. We all knew it, but nobody said a word. Family dynamics. The next morning, we headed back to Chao County, hauling 45 more wolf carcasses. 41 of them were my solo kills, while the other 4 were group takedowns. Honestly, at this rate, I've slain more wolves than whole armies. Every single village we passed along the road absolutely lost their minds. An old man stroked his beard in disbelief. A young guy sighed. Man, if I had that kind of power, I'd have zero trouble pulling a wife. A village woman muttered, Beast Ridge Village is about to be absolutely filthy rich. The city guards at Chao County nearly had a heart attack. Bro, did you literally wipe out the entire wolf den? We marched through the streets like absolute conquerors, heading straight for the fortune-gathering hall. We finally pulled up to the Su family mansion, our new ultimate cash cow. But as we got closer, my heart absolutely dropped when I spotted Wang Shishao standing outside. Yep, the exact same girl I lied to yesterday. About being from some random place called Oxhorn Village. Just my luck. She turned around and locked eyes with me. Oh, this was about to be spectacularly awkward. The moment I saw Wang Shishao standing guard at the mansion, my survival instincts kicked in and I went, nope. I spun around, halted the entire parade of villagers, and quickly confessed how she had interrogated me the day before, and how I'd fed her a completely fake village name. The chief just chuckled at my panic. Just go lie low at the tea stall, kid. We'll handle the deal. So there I was, watching 40 of my villagers march right into the grandest estate in all of Chao County, proudly hauling 45 dead wolves, while I hid out at a cheap tea stand like an actual fugitive. Truly heroic. Absolutely dignified. Meanwhile, inside the gates, Wang Shishao was actively hunting for me. Her boss had tipped her off that another massive shipment of wolves was on the way, so she'd been waiting at the entrance like a hawk. Where's the guy who collected the money yesterday? She demanded. The chief just smiled smoothly. Oh, he's out sick today. How incredibly convenient. She reluctantly paid up 800 coins per wolf. Another absolute jackpot. But then, she blocked the exit. Which one of you is the legendary wolf-slaying hero? Everyone instantly went deadpan, and the chief proudly puffed out his chest. We all are. It was a total team effort. But their resident forensics expert, Sun Iren, wasn't buying it for a second. These wolves and the ones from yesterday were clearly taken down by the exact same fighter. I can easily tell by the precision of the wounds. Cue the painful, awkward silence. That's when Wang Shishao decided to drop her ultimate trump card. No need to be defensive. Our master actually wants to find this hero and make him his official son-in-law. And whoever tells us his identity gets a whole silver tael right now. She flashed the shiny silver coin, and eyes immediately lit up across the room. 1 silver tael is life-changing money for struggling villagers. But my villagers, my beautiful, incredibly loyal, and severely underpaid villagers absolutely held the line. Like we said, a team effort. Yep, that's right. Every single one of them backed up my lie without flinching. Wang Shishao and Sun Iren just stood there, completely dumbfounded. The chief smirked and said, well, if we're all done here, we'll take our leave, and marched everyone out. Honestly, I could have cried tears of joy. These people are literally eating tree bark to survive, yet they turned down. I'm using the silver to keep my identity on the down low, and buying the villagers an absolute mountain of meat buns. But of course, there's always a catch. Suddenly, one of our guys completely vanishes. Wait, where the heck is Sun Ping? You know, the dude whose kid got snatched by wolves. Turns out the snake had slipped away and sprinted back to the mansion to snitch on me. He was inside spilling his guts to Wang Shishao. The guy's name is Wei. He's just a local doctor. He's exposing me as the hero. But the universe had my back. Wang Shishao took one look at this desperate clown, trying to claim that massive bounty, and instantly thought, nice try, scammer. Remember, I already played her like a fiddle yesterday, with that fake village name. So now, she assumed everyone was a clout-chasing liar. She ordered her guards to throw his sorry but out. Bro, the one guy who actually told the absolute truth, got booted out for being a liar. All because I completely shattered her trust in humanity. My 200 IQ lie from yesterday is literally saving me today. Past me continues to be an absolute genius. The chief intercepted Sun Ping right outside, and the entire village squad immediately surrounded him. Did you snitch? No. I swear I was just looking for the bathroom. I got lost. Obviously, nobody bought his BS. The dude was literally swearing on heaven and lightning bolts. But the chief just gave him a terrifying death glare. If I find out you're lying to us, you are absolutely finished. We all knew he was lying, and he knew we knew. But since Wang Xiao didn't believe a word anyway, it was a case of no harm, no foul this time. Later at the tea stall, the chief hands me the loot. Another massive, heavy bag of silver. I stuff it right into my shirt. Honestly, my chest is basically a walking bank vault at this point. But the chief is still stressed. If they get suspicious and find out you're the one behind this, they'll force you into the army. Sending you to the front lines is an absolute death sentence. Suddenly, Fu Xing jumps up. If you go to war, I'm riding with you. Then the crippled guy chimed in. Bro, if you have to go to war, I'll chop firewood for your family for the rest of my life. Then another genius yells. And we'll take care of your wives. Yeah, we'll keep them comforted. Wait. Absolutely nobody is comforting my wives. I comfort my own wives. I snapped back. Everyone, just chill out. Nobody's going anywhere. Just eat your buns. So, I went on another massive shopping spree for roast ducks, more of those premium Taisher cakes, and a giant sack of supplies. My wives are straight up going to eat like queens tonight. But as I'm heading back to the tea stall, lugging this massive sack of goodies, I spot 3 horses galloping up the road. It's Wang Xiao and 2 of her men. She was riding hard toward Beast Ridge village. To investigate, passing right by where I was standing. Suddenly, she turns her head and looks directly at me. Oh crap. Not this again. I immediately whipped around, and power walked like my literal life depended on it. Which, let's be real, it kind of did. Wang Xiao squinted at my back, and a gear faintly clicked inside her brain. Wait, that guy looks familiar. But then she shook it off. That little scammer wasn't nearly this handsome. Hold up. Did she just call me handsome? Well, she said the scammer wasn't me, because the scammer was way lower tier, which inherently means she thinks the current me is a total Chad. Even though the scammer version is literally just me. Lady, we are the exact same person. But hey, I'll take the compliment. She blasted through the city gates at full speed, no doubt making a beeline. Straight for Beast Ridge village. Good thing I'm nowhere near that place right now. The RNG gods are definitely on my side today. Back at the tea stall, I started handing out the daily payout. Same deal as yesterday, fair, honest wages for everyone, plus a little extra bonus for the chief. Then I pulled Sun Ping aside. The moment I confronted him about the mansion gossip, he crumbled faster than a cheap cookie. He instantly dropped to his knees, begging for mercy. I'm so sorry. I just thought if you became their son-in-law, you'd be filthy rich and happy, and I'd score that sweet silver reward. I didn't realize they'd drag you into the army. Wait. Son-in-law. They want me to marry into that wealthy family? Okay, interesting. Very interesting. But also incredibly sus. What kind of mega-wealthy, top-tier beauty has to recruit a husband? Through a literal wolf-hunting bounty? She's either hideous, completely unhinged, or both. Still, I let Sun Ping off with a warning. The poor guy just lost his 10-year-old son to those wolves. I'm not about to completely destroy his life over a stupid mistake. Instead, I tossed him a stack of 100 coins. He stared at the money, looked back up at me, and just burst into tears. This village literally runs on tears. Seriously, everyone here is crying 24/7. I've made more people break down in 3 days than a licensed therapist does in their entire career. But next on the agenda, I desperately need a house. And I mean a legit one made of solid bricks. No straw and absolutely no cheap mud blocks. Because I refuse to spend one more night in a rundown shack, where 3 grown adults have to share a bed the size of a surfboard, and I can't even get close to my wife, without her sister hearing our every move. So, does anyone know a local brickmaker? I asked the chief and he pointed me to a guy named Lu Yaowen, over in Yellow River Town. He's supposedly the absolute goat of brickmaking. An hour later we hit the road. We arrived at this surprisingly cozy little town, complete with kids playing under trees and paved stone paths. Picture-perfect thatched roofs with chimney smoke drifting up, basically super aesthetic, but deeply impoverished. But when we found Lu Yaowen's place, it was surrounded by an angry mob. Turns out, this master brickmaker got absolutely wasted last night, and completely beat down his neighbor's younger brother. Now, the victim's 3 older brothers, Niu Taihang, Niu Baishan, and Niu Gongtu, I swear, ancient Chinese parents. just named their kids after WWE wrestling moves. They had him hogtied in the dirt like a pig, demanding a massive payout of 10 silver taels, or they'd drag his ass straight to court. Lu Yaowen was kneeling in the dirt, looking like a literal skeleton, begging for mercy. Standing right behind him was his sick, elderly mother, coughing her absolute lungs out, alongside his pale, terrified wife and their tiny son, who was hiding behind her legs. Meanwhile, the beaten-up brother was lying on a straw mat nearby, looking like someone had used his face as a literal punching bag. His eyes were completely swollen shut, and his head was puffed up like a balloon. Honestly, for a scrawny drunkard, Lu Yaowen threw some incredibly decent punches. Still, 10 silver taels was absolute highway robbery. Even the chief agreed, this was pure extortion, and there was no way the guy had that kind of cash. Right then, I watched those three massive brothers drag Lu Yaowen's entire family straight out of their home, while they screamed and begged for mercy. The elderly mother could barely even stand up, and the little boy was sobbing hysterically. I couldn't just stand by and watch this. Hey, hold it right there. As every eye locked onto me, I stepped up, cool as ice, and dropped some facts. Take him to court, I said, and you get 0 cash. The magistrate doesn't pay out. He just throws the book at him, leaving you empty-handed. That made the brothers freeze. You could practically hear their 2 remaining brain cells grinding. I headed inside with Lu Yaowen to get the real scoop. Turns out the guy was completely broke, drowning in debt trying to keep his sick mother alive. He hadn't worked a brick-making shift in over a year, and had barely a few pocket coins left to his name. So I made him a deal. I'll wipe out your debt and cure your mother's illness. In return, you're building my new house. The guy immediately burst into tears, dropping to his knees. I'll serve you like a loyal dog for the rest of my days. Man, it feels like everyone in this dynasty wants to be my pet. At this rate, I'm building a zoo. I grabbed 3 silver taels, stepped back outside, and faced the thugs. 3 taels, I said. Take it or leave it. If you want more, go ahead and drag him to the magistrate. But you'll walk away with nothing and waste a whole week. The 3 Neo brothers stared down at my silver, like starving dogs eyeing a juicy steak. 3 taels was still a massive payday for them, more than enough to shut them up. The oldest brother snatched the coins out of my hand, giving Lu Yaowen one final death glare. Next time you're dead meat, he spat, as they dragged their swollen, beat-up brother away. We finally untied Lu Yaowen, and his entire family hit the dirt, kowtowing to me in absolute gratitude. His mom, his wife, his little kid, all of them had their faces pressed against the ground. Honestly, I'm starting to think ancient Chinese dirt has some kind of magnetic pull on people's foreheads. Once inside, I handed out some meat buns. Lu Yaowen's little boy snatched one up, and absolutely inhaled it like a vacuum cleaner. Poor kid probably hadn't seen a real meal in ages. I sat down next to the elderly mother and checked her pulse, and instantly 2 lifetimes of medical mastery kicked in. Severely weakened spleen and stomach, massively depleted blood and qi, severe rheumatoid arthritis and failing eyesight. The entire family just stared at me, completely slack-jawed. I had just rattled off every single one of her chronic symptoms, without her saying a single word. This isn't going to be a quick fix, I told them. She's going to need an intensive, long-term herbal treatment. So I quickly scribbled down some prescriptions, while this wholesome little kid fed his grandma pieces of the bun. Now, our boy Lu Yaowen wanted to wait a couple of days to join us, but his wife and mother literally dragged him to the door and threw him out. Go right now. Don't you dare disrespect the man who literally saved your life. Yeah, ancient Chinese wives definitely do not play around. Before we hit the road, Lu mentioned he had a buddy in construction, named Zhao Shan, an absolute master when it comes to building. The catch? He charges 30 copper coins a day. The village chief nearly choked. 30? Our local builders only charge 10. But Lu backed him up. Trust me, he's worth every penny. So I said, hire him immediately. Why? Because I am absolutely loaded now, and I desperately need a house with separate bedrooms, before I completely lose my mind, sharing a toddler-sized bed with my wife and her sister. So we picked up Zhao Shan and officially set off. It was me, the chief, the brick maker, and our new builder. The ultimate dream team for Operation Build This Man a Real House, just so he can finally get some privacy with his wife. Along the way, I ended up buying even more buns, because apparently that is my entire life now, slaying monsters and buying baked goods. But then, I spotted two beggars collapsed on the side of the road. A grown man and a little girl covered in dirt, starving and clinging to life. The moment the girl saw me looking, she ran over and threw herself to her knees. "Big brother, please," she begged. "Can we please have some food? My dad is dying." My heart absolutely shattered. I instantly handed over the buns, and she rushed back to gently feed her weak father. The chief grabbed my arm. "Lu Wei, stop. There's a massive famine out here. Beggars are everywhere. You can't save everyone." I looked at him and said, "I can save these too. But there are literally thousands dying across the country. Then I'll start with these two." Turns out, the father was a skilled carpenter named Lu, and their entire village had been wiped out by a brutal plague. The little girl, who couldn't have been more than 8 or 9 years old, instantly started pitching her skills like a tiny job applicant. "I can sweep, wash floors, harvest vegetables, and farm. I'll do anything. My dad and I only need half a bun a day to survive. Please, just give us a safe place to live." She was literally selling herself into indentured servitude. For a measly half a bun a day. Think about that, an 8-year-old kid forced to negotiate her own survival. I quickly did the math. I just made 32 silver taels today, minus 3 to cover Lu Yaowen's debt. With 29 grand left, feeding 2 extra mouths is literally pocket change. "Follow me," I said, and the girl grabbed her dad, practically dragging his weak self behind us. The chief interrogated them for a bit, to make sure their story checked out, and once he was satisfied, we kept moving. So now my crew is officially growing. 2 gorgeous wives, 1 elite carpenter, a brick maker, a builder, and a sweet little girl, who thinks half a stale bun is a 5-star feast. Honestly, at this rate, I'll have my own mini-empire running by next week. But of course, because the universe loves to stress me out, Wang Xinxiao had just ridden into Beast Ridge Village. She crossed paths with Annie Wang, who cheerfully guided her straight to my front door. The legendary wolf-slaying hero lives right here. Wang Xinxiao stared at my crumbling, sad straw shack, thinking, yeah, right, no way a powerhouse lives in this trash heap. But then, my front door creaked open, and Z and Xiao stepped outside. Instantly, Wang Xinxiao's brain short-circuited. Her assistant's brain completely melted, too. They just stood there, completely frozen, jaws on the floor, staring at 2 mind-blowingly gorgeous women, stepping out of a shack that looked ready to collapse. If someone so much as coughed on it. These were high-class aristocratic princesses with porcelain skin and unmatched noble elegance, just casually chilling outside the absolute worst house in the village. Even dressed in patched-up rags, they looked like they belonged in a royal painting. Wang Xinxiao was internally screaming, "How on earth are these goddesses living in a dump?" Meanwhile, my beautiful, totally clueless wives were thinking, who are these weirdos and why are they staring at us? I was still a 30-minute hike away, carrying fresh buns and recruiting a carpenter, completely oblivious to the fact that the rich girls' detective agency had just located my base, and was currently face-to-face with my wives. Yeah, this is about to go horribly wrong. So while I was out in the wild, collecting craftsmen and orphans like Pokemon, Wang Xinxiao had successfully breached my headquarters. Z politely asked, "Can we help you? What do you want with my husband?" Wang Xinxiao flashed a polite smile. "We're actually here to discuss a massive business deal. Could you call him out? He's not home." Not home. She clearly didn't buy that for a second. But then, she literally tried to strut right into my house, like she owned the damn place. Thankfully, Z instantly blocked the door. Meanwhile, Xiao Wu, my beautiful, absolute savage of an attack dog, sprinted inside, grabbed her bow, and marched right back out, with a deadly arrow aimed dead center at Wang Xianzhao's face.
Bro, Wang Xinxiao.
And her tough guy bodyguard instantly turned pale as a ghost. We don't want any trouble," Wang Xianzhao squeaked out, suddenly super polite as they quickly agreed to wait outside. Smart move, because my little sister-in-law absolutely does not bluff. So she waited and waited. Eventually, our wolf-selling crew returned, but I wasn't even with them. By sunset, she rode back to my place once more. Z politely apologized, explaining he had other business to run, and Xiao Wu even offered her some water. Honestly, these sisters have way more class than this entire county. That's when I finally showed up, bringing Anti-Rash, the village chief, the brick maker, the builder, the carpenter, and even his little daughter. Seriously, my squad is growing by the hour. Brother-in-law, husband, Both girls rushed over and hugged me like I'd been deployed for a year. Xiao was actually pouting, crying out, "We thought something terrible happened to you." I gave their arms a reassuring squeeze, before turning around to face Wang Xi and Xiao. And, for the first time, I actually looked at her. Like really took her in. And oh boy, she was actually kind of a smoke show. Tiny waist, killer curves. And that golden hour sunset light was doing her major favors. She had this fierce, fiery expression on a super delicate face. Sure, she wasn't quite on Z or Xiao Wu's level, but she had this crazy energy, like an angry little kitten desperately trying to act like a tiger. It was honestly adorable. But then my brain immediately went, wait, if the maid looks this good, just how gorgeous is her boss? No, bad brain. Focus. You little scammer. Do you have any idea how long I've been hunting you down? She snapped, trying her absolute hardest to sound menacing, but failing miserably and just looking like a mad bunny. I just smirked. Well, Miss Wang, fancy meeting you here. Surely you didn't trek all this way just to get those 2 silver coins back. Did you? Humph. My mistress wants a word with you, she replied. Oh, and right on cue. And here I thought you actually wanted to see me. Talk about a major letdown. Instantly, her face flushed red, like she'd just been smacked across both cheeks with a bouquet of roses. She completely lost the ability to make eye contact. Honestly, I could practically hear her brain short-circuiting, desperately trying to claw back her composure. She stammered, "My lady is always eager to scout elite talent. She knows you're the legendary marksman, and she wants to connect." Oh? If she's so eager, why didn't she pull up herself? Or did she just send you out as bait to test the waters? Right on cue, her heart rate spiked through the roof. You? How did you? Well, look at that. I had just read their entire playbook in a single breath. So Yao had definitely sent her to size me up, before committing to an actual face-to-face meeting. But man, Wang Xi and Zhao's poker face was absolute garbage. Panicking, she tried to pull the prestige card. My mistress is the daughter of the wealthiest family in Chao County. Aligning yourself with her is a luxury you can't afford to pass up. Hearing that, my big mouth fired off before my brain could even register it. So, is this mistress of yours actually cough cough. Holy crap, I almost asked if the rich girl was hot, right in front of my own wife. Catching myself at the absolute last millisecond, I forced out a fake cough. Ahem, what I meant to say is, I'm feeling a bit under the weather today. Tell your mistress she'll have to try again some other time. Wang Xi and Xiao looked like I just personally insulted her lineage. Do you have any idea how rare it is for my mistress to invite someone? Don't be so ungrateful. She was literally biting her lip in sheer frustration. Honestly, she looked so adorable I just wanted to pinch her cheeks. Instead, I pulled out the 2 silver coins. I had casually scammed off her the day before, and extended my hand. Take your cash back. And tell your boss if she wants to talk. She comes in person. She slapped the money away, flipped onto her horse with some surprisingly impressive agility, and galloped off, desperately trying to salvage her dignity. But it was obvious, I had completely rattled her. She was confused, flustered, and maybe a little intrigued. As they rode off, her assistant muttered, "Man, that guy's got some nerve." But Wang Xi and Xiao immediately shut him down. Quiet. He clearly has the skills to back up his attitude. So, what's the move? Do we bring Lady Su here tomorrow? Do we even have a choice? Yes. Yup, this guy is absolutely worth it. She immediately whipped her horse, and took off galloping straight into the sunset, probably replaying our whole conversation in her head, and kicking herself for blushing so hard. The second I got back to the village, Linger bounced right over. Yo, is it true? The wealthiest tycoon in Chao County actually wants you as his son-in-law. Yeah. Right then, her expression went through a whole emotional roller coaster. Hyped, devastated, and low-key jealous all at the same time. Wow, that's amazing. Just, don't forget about me. I mean, don't forget about us villagers.
Wow, smooth recovery, Linger.
Real smooth. Meanwhile, Mei Yan was also staring at me, with a totally unreadable look on her face. Yep, the exact same woman, whose chest I just performed high-stakes emergency surgery on yesterday, was currently eyeballing me, like I was the absolute last slice of cake at a party. So, I announced to the crowd, "Everyone, chill out. I'm not signing away my life to become anyone's trophy husband. That's just not how I roll." If anything happens down the line, I'll be taking concubines strictly on my own terms. And right then, and look, I'm not exactly proud of this. My eyes did a completely involuntary, subconscious sweep right across Linger's and Mei Yan's plot-heavy upper architecture. Both girls caught me red-handed, looked down at themselves, and then snapped their eyes right back up at me. Honestly, my hands were literally itching. Bro, I've been in this dynasty for a whopping 3 days, and I've already gone from a total virgin med student, who had never even touched a woman before, to a guy mentally plotting out his entire harem, all while his current wife actively cheers him on. Man, this world is straight up going to be the death of me. But hey, what a way to go. Anyway, we finally got back home, shut the front door, and my 2 girls immediately started inspecting my body, like I was a fragile Amazon package that got damaged during shipping. Relax, guys, I'm totally fine. But they were not buying it. And then, their real, deep-seated anxiety finally came out. Husband, if you actually marry that rich lady and become her son-in-law, are you going to abandon us? Xiao Xiao stared up at me, her massive eyes absolutely swimming with pure terror. You have to understand, the world had already thrown these 2 away once before. The moment their father got thrown in chains. They had been brutally rejected by literally every single village, almost sold off straight to a brothel, and now they were completely terrified that the very first person who ever treated them like actual human beings turns out to be leaving too, was thinking about trading up for a richer model. I pulled them both into a tight embrace. You 2 mean absolutely everything to me. Swear it, right now, Xiao whispered, stubborn as always. I raised my right hand like I was under oath. I swear to the heavens above, as long as I draw breath, I will never leave you. Instantly, their expressions shifted. Fear completely vanished, replaced by pure joy. It was a beautiful, deeply romantic moment. Super tender. And then, the door literally exploded open. Because apparently, nobody in this entire village knows how to knock. Linger stood there clutching a weapon, caught us all tangled up in a massive group hug, and completely froze like a deer in headlights. Her repeating crossbow almost slipped right out of her hands. Z and Xiao launched out of my arms at warp speed. Honestly, I'm starting to think my wives have some kind of spring-loaded ejection seat that triggers the second anyone walks in. The repeating crossbow is finished.
Linger shouted,
Holding up her creation like it was the Holy Grail. She had pulled this off in a single day, right after pulling a brutal all-nighter the night before. This girl hadn't slept in nearly 48 hours, yet she just casually manufactured a weapon that shouldn't exist for several more centuries. I took it outside, aimed at a mulberry tree 200 meters out, and pulled the trigger. Thwip, 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 thwip. 6 bolts, rapid fire. Every single one embedded in the bark, with barely 3 centimeters of deviation between them. This thing was basically an ancient Chinese assault rifle. Xiao Wu's jaw literally hit the floor. That's insane. I turned to Linger in absolute awe. You are incredible. What do you want as a reward? What are you offering? She grinned playfully. Roast duck. Tai Shui cakes, new clothes. Brand new shoes. She froze, blinked, and then frantically waved her hands. I was just kidding. I can't possibly accept all that. Z immediately pulled her inside, and straight up piled the entire haul into her arms. The duck, the cakes, the outfit, and the shoes. Linger completely panicked and bolted for the exit. Like a shoplifter, yelling, I'm going to sleep, and then I'm building another one for my sister-in-law. Bye. Just like that, she vanished into the night, before anyone could even try to stop her. Xie and Xiao Wu chased her for a few steps, but gave up and just shook their heads. Honestly, that girl is straight up allergic to kindness. Back inside, I handed Xie another massive bag of silver. She and Xiao Wu opened it and instantly went numb. How is there even more money? Xiao Wu shrieked. And there'll be even more tomorrow, I said, patting her head. Xie quickly stuffed the silver under the bed, adding it to our growing fortune. At this point, our bed is basically a treasure chest with a mattress thrown on top. Suddenly, she started trembling. What's wrong? I asked. There's just too much money. What if someone tries to rob us? That's when Xiao Wu dropped a total bombshell.
Xiao Man.
He was lurking outside our place today, limping around on his crutch, trying to sneak inside while we were out. We didn't dare leave the front door unguarded. Wait, that diaper-wetting bully is back already? hobbling around on a crutch and everything. I guess taking arrows to his leg and wrist wasn't a clear enough warning for him. Right then, a knock echoed out. An actual polite knock. Thank God. And then, Mei Yin's voice called through the wood. Doctor? Are you in there? Z opened the door, and there stood Mei Yin, rocking a tight hunting outfit that put every single curve on full display. My eyes did an involuntary split-second scan of her chest, because apparently my brain has the impulse control of an overexcited golden retriever. She caught me looking, and a faint spark flickered in her eyes, a detail I chose to absolutely ignore. A thug named Chong Lang from Earth Ridge Village just showed up armed with a knife to meet Xiaoman. They might be coming for you tonight. Be careful. She turned and vanished before I could even reply, melting right back into the darkness, leaving only her stunning silhouette behind. Z frowned. Who the hell is Chong Lang? Another local thug, and a nasty one at that. Xiao Wu said, quickly connecting the dots. Are they teaming up to rob us? Z's face went completely pale, and I went dead silent. In an instant, my brain flipped from loving husband mode straight to cold, calculated. Killer. Xiaoman Hu. That bastard had to go. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Tonight. This psycho was actively recruiting hired thugs to slaughter my family. First, he came for my wife. And now he's bringing reinforcements. Every single day I let him draw breath is another day he plots our demise. I grabbed my repeating crossbow. Z grabbed my arm, her eyes wide. Where are you going? Just taking a walk. Back soon. I smiled, gently peeling her fingers off me, before stepping out into the dead of night. Behind me, Xiao tried to reassure her. Don't worry.
Cease.
Brother-in-law is a straight-up warrior. He'll be fine. A warrior? 3 days ago, she was calling me a useless bum. But Z just stood at the doorway, watching me fade into the pitch-black shadows, her brow furrowed with deep anxiety. And honestly, she had every right to worry, because I definitely wasn't going for a stroll. I was going hunting, and this time my prey wasn't wild beasts. The night was black as pitch. I slipped through the back alleys, sneaking toward Xiao Manhu's compound, crossbow locked and loaded, pure murder on my mind. Now look, I know what you're thinking. Zhou Gui, weren't you a medical student? Didn't you take an oath to save lives? And yeah, you're right, but that oath has a tiny footnote. Except for scumbags who plan to slit your throat, steal your hard-earned cash, and assault your wife. Pretty sure that's written in the fine print somewhere. I finally reached his massive estate at the edge of town. But before I could even breach the perimeter, the sound of a woman screaming and crying echoed out, the kind of blood-curdling shriek that makes your spine tingle. Then silence, followed by a man's sleazy laugh. Man, your woman is wild, tiger bro. So, what's the play here? That was Chong Lang, the ruthless mercenary Ma Yen warned me about. Then, Manhu began laying out his brilliant master plan. Sneak into my house under the cover of darkness, slit my throat, rob me blind of all my silver, and, I am quoting him directly here, take turns with my wives. Right then, my vision went completely red. I kicked that door right off its hinges, and both of those scumbags nearly jumped out of their skin. Before Chong Lang could even register what was happening, I buried a solid steel arrow right into his gut. As he let out a pathetic shriek, I sent a second one straight through his skull. That shut him up permanently. Mao tried to scramble and make a run for it, but his leg, the exact same one I'd put a hole through a few days ago, was completely trashed. He hobbled maybe 3 miserable steps before I pinned an arrow dead center into his back. He ate dirt instantly and began desperately crawling, clawing at the mud like a dying cockroach. I slowly walked up to him, keeping my bow aimed right at his forehead. Hey, in your next life, try not being a total piece of garbage, all right? Wait, take my woman. I'll give you everything I have, he begged. I pulled the trigger anyway, and then collapsed onto the floor, because my legs suddenly felt like jelly. 2 lifeless bodies, blood pooling everywhere. I had actually just taken 2 lives. In my past world, I was literally studying to save people, and now here I was ending them. My hands were shaking uncontrollably, and my stomach was doing violent backflips. But then I remembered. These 2 monsters had murdered, stolen, kidnapped, and terrorized innocent villagers for years. Worse, they were planning to butcher me and assault my family. This very night. If I hadn't made this preemptive strike, Z and Xiao Wu would have woken up with cold steel pressed against their throats. Realizing that, I finally made peace with what I did. Well, mostly. Suddenly, a woman stumbled out from a dark back room, her face completely black and blue from a brutal beating. I nearly shot her on pure survival reflex. But as she saw the corpses, she fell to her knees and began bowing to me frantically. Thank you for ending them," she sobbed. "They slaughtered my entire family and dragged me here by force." Her name was Mao Dongmei. Mao had literally massacred her loved ones and kept her locked away as his personal toy. The sickening laughs I'd heard earlier were actually him and Chung Lang, abusing her all while mapping out my execution. Talk about multitasking your evil deeds. "Help me bury them," I told her. Luckily, Mao's shack was conveniently isolated, right at the edge of the village near the mountain base. No neighbors around for hundreds of yards. I carefully retrieved my arrows, basic evidence disposal 101, stuffed both of their bodies into heavy sacks, and hauled them up into the dark mountains. 2 trips because these absolute units were heavy as hell, and Dongmei had the physical strength of a wet noodle. We buried them, scrubbed the blood, and erased every single trace. Then I handed Dongmei a few silver coins, and told her to go start a fresh life somewhere else. She just stared at me with completely dead eyes. I have no family, and nowhere to go. I left anyway, but after walking about 50 steps, the guilt absolutely ate at me. I turned right back around, only to find her hanging from a peach tree. I sprinted over and cut her down just in the nick of time. She was sobbing, crying about how she had no one left, and how living was pointless. Well, that pretty much settled it. "Fine. You're coming with me. I'm your family now." She instantly hit the dirt, bowing in gratitude. "I will serve you like a loyal beast of burden forever." Great, my livestock collection keeps growing. I now have 2 oxen, 3 horses, and a carpenter. My crew is basically a whole farm at this point. But then, she suddenly covered her chest with her hands, looking incredibly nervous. "If you want me, I am willing. But my body right now is..." "Wait. WHOA, hold up. No. That is absolutely not what I meant." I waved my hands so violently I almost slapped myself in the face. "I need you to run to the village chief's place and tell him manhwa has completely vanished." Her face went from pure terror to sheer confusion, and then to total relief in a span of 2 seconds. She booked it straight to the chief's house and put on an absolute Oscar-worthy crying performance. "Manhwa is gone. I'm so scared. All by myself in that massive house." The chief just stood there scratching his head, trying to figure out how to handle the situation. Right on cue, I casually strolled up. Just a totally normal guy who definitely did not just bury 2 bodies on a mountain 20 minutes ago. "Move along, nothing to see here." I played my part flawlessly in front of the chief. "Man, my shack is way too cramped for all these new people I brought home. Are there any empty houses around?" Ma Dongmei, executing the plan perfectly, chimed right in.
Manhwa.
"Place has plenty of empty rooms, and it's not like he's using it right now." I feigned hesitation. "I don't know. Manhwa and I have some bad blood. But hey, he won't be back tonight anyway, so it's fine." The chief just shrugged and greenlit the whole thing. Absolute poetry. The village chief just officially authorized people to move straight into a dead man's house. And that same dead man was buried barely 20 minutes ago, by the very guy who made the suggestion. "We are playing 4D chess out here." Once we stepped outside, Dongmei whispered, "You're a genius. Just practical." I replied, grabbing my hidden crossbow from its stash. "Go prep the house. I'll bring the crew over. Once everyone gets settled in, nobody is going to question why we've claimed his space." She handed back the silver I'd given her earlier. Turns out, Meng had cash stashed everywhere, and it all belongs to her now. "Keep it," she said. "A total refund on my good deeds." Nice. Back at the cabin, my 2 girls were waiting at the door, like anxious little puppies. Pure, unadulterated relief washed over them when they saw me breathing. Ji immediately started grilling me. "Where did you go?" "Meng's place." Her face went ghostly pale. "Why?" Xiao Wu, always sharp as a tack, narrowed her eyes. "Did you do something?" "I overheard them," I said. "They were planning to raid our house at midnight, kill me, take our money, and do God knows what to you. So, I put them down." Dead silence. 2 pairs of massive eyes just stared at me in shock. Ji bolted to the door, scanned the perimeter, slammed it shut, locked it tight, and turned back. You killed them both? And they're buried on the mountain. Already done. Did anyone see? Only Dongmei. She's with us now. I took her in. Xiao Wu processed this for about 3 seconds, then shrugged. Good. Now we can actually get some sleep tonight. This girl, absolutely zero moral crisis. No hand-wringing, no panic, just pure survival instinct. The creeps who wanted to hurt us are dead? Awesome. Finally, some peace of mind. Xiao Wu is low-key terrifying, and I love her for it. I got the craftsman settled at Dongmei's, well, Meng's former house, and finally headed home. She immediately washed my face, wiped me down, and brought hot water to soak my feet. A literal luxury spa treatment for a guy who just committed a casual double homicide. My brain was seriously short-circuiting. But then, bedtime rolled around, and things got wild. Xiao Wu was standing by the edge of the bed, looking incredibly fidgety. She was clutching her clothes, completely avoiding eye contact. Was she really that embarrassed to sleep next to me? I offered to go find her a separate room somewhere else. She bit her lip, totally paralyzed and unable to speak her mind. Thankfully, Z read the room instantly. She's just terrified after everything that went down tonight. Think about it. Xiao Wu, the fierce girl who literally threatened to fight me on day one, the one who called me a stinky man and glared down armed thugs, was now too spooked to sleep alone. After hearing about those brutal murders. Just let your brother-in-law sleep in the middle tonight, Z suggested. Xiao Wu clearly wanted this more than anything, but she couldn't ask because, well, I'm her sister's husband. So she just stood there, her cheeks turning bright pink. Z immediately doubled down. Besides, once you're old enough, you're going to marry him anyway. We'll see about that. Xiao Wu dived onto the bed and bolted toward the wall, trying to hide her absolutely burning face. I carefully climbed into the middle spot, and Z blew out the lantern. Suddenly, I had 2 gorgeous girls pressed against me on both sides. The bed was so incredibly cramped that, when I tried to move my hand off my stomach to rest it on the mattress, it landed dead center on Xiao Wu's butt. She jolted like she'd just been hit by 1,000,000 volts of electricity, and almost launched herself completely off the bed. I yanked my hand back instantly. Oh my god, sorry.
Total accident.
100% unintentional. I swear, I spent the next hour lying there stiff as a board, absolutely terrified that a single micro-movement would cause another accidental touch, and leave a sister-in-law-shaped hole blasted through the wall. Eventually, pure exhaustion took over and I passed out. The next morning, I woke up only to realize that Xiao Wu, Miss, don't you dare touch me, had her leg draped right over mine, her hand resting on my chest, and her face completely smushed against my cheek. Worse yet, my hand had somehow wandered under her top, and was firmly gripping her undergarment. She woke up, processed the situation, and her face flushed a shade of crimson red, previously unknown to modern science. Neither of us said a word. In fact, we'll never speak of this again. It never happened. Moving swiftly on, I sent Fu, Xing, and the crippled man to assist the brickmaker. First, I had to scout the perfect spot for a kiln. Next, I dragged the sisters outside to map out the empty lot, where our brand new house was going to stand. Once we got back inside, I immediately got to work on the math, calculating dimensions, mapping out room sizes, and drafting up a flawless layout. We're talking legit architectural blueprints here, using modern formulas straight from my past life. As I worked, Xiao Wu sat down right next to me, totally mesmerized, just staring at me without even blinking. Wow, my brother-in-law looks incredibly handsome when he's this focused. I could literally hear her inner monologue screaming it. Then, Zier brought over some ginseng tea and peeked at my draft. What are all these strange symbols and numbers, husband? Oh, just area formulas. Length times width equals total square footage. So we can plan out the exact size of every single room. Both sisters just stared at me blankly, looking like I had just performed some dark witchcraft. Hey, basic math basically equals magic in ancient China. Just then, Mengya's voice echoed from outside, calling out to us. Zier opened the door, and in walked the gorgeous huntress, with her hips swaying and an impossibly snatched waist, paired with a chest that was definitely not narrow. Naturally, my eyes immediately darted straight to the exact area where I had performed emergency first aid. Up on that mountain, I gulped, trying to keep it cool.
Hey, sis.
What can I do for you today? Mengya asked if we could speak in private, so I followed her out to a quiet, empty clearing. Honestly, I was fully expecting a medical follow-up. About, her chest situation. But instead, she hit me with a bombshell. Did you kill Xiao Manhu and Zhang Liang last night? I swear, my soul physically left my body for a solid 2 seconds. Who, me? Murder? Come on, who would ever? I saw you carrying the body bags up the mountain. Wait, what? She was out there watching me? Turns out she had gone to keep an eye on Manhu's place, because she was worried they were going to ambush me. But instead, she witnessed my entire murder cleanup and burial operation, like she was watching a late-night true crime documentary. Realizing the gig was up, I dropped the innocent act. Yeah, I killed them. They were literally planning to murder me at midnight and assault my wives. I don't regret it for a second. She slowly nodded, and then dropped a warning that nearly gave me whiplash. Just so you know, Zhang Liang has 2 dangerous brothers back in his village. Once they realize he's missing, they're gonna start sniffing around and find Dongmei. One standard interrogation and she'll fold like a lawn chair. Next thing you know, it's off with your head. Got it? Valid point. My stomach completely dropped. Time to pull out the classic damsel in distress card. Oh no, I'm literally shaking right now. You gotta help me, sis. She locked eyes with me, completely deadpan, and said, then let's just take out his brothers too. Hold up. Excuse me? They're pure trash just like Chung Lang. She kept going, ice cold, without missing a beat. Literally everyone in the village despises them. Honestly, we're doing community service by deleting them. Bro, this actual woman right here, her husband literally kicked the bucket 2 days ago, and now she's casually volunteering. For a double homicide mission? Like she's just running a Tuesday errand. The huntress is seriously built different. If you say they gotta go, they go. I'm down. Tonight, right after dark. Meet me by the old banyan tree at the village entrance. Just you and me. Keep your mouth shut. Don't breathe a word to your wife. Deal? She turned and walked away, and man, I couldn't help but stare. Her hips were doing absolute magic in the morning light, leaving me simultaneously down bad and mildly terrified for my life, which apparently is exactly my type. Anyway, back to the daily grind. Fu Xing managed to scout the perfect spot for our brick kiln, loaded with river clay and premium fine sand right by the western stream. Lewis Allen was already drawing up the master plan. I gave the green light to start digging immediately, promising everyone top-tier wages. Right then, little Tao Dao, the carpenter's adorable daughter I just saved from the streets, came bouncing right up to me. Master, what's the game plan for me and Daddy? Oh, and did you eat? Sister Dong Mei made rice porridge. I crushed 2 massive bowls. Her eyes were literally sparkling. 2 bowls of basic porridge. And this kid was acting like she just hit the Powerball jackpot. Just yesterday, she was begging for a stale crust of bread. I told her dad to map out the village and get comfortable, giving Tao Dao a playful pat on the cheek. This kid was seriously starting to win me over. But as I stepped outside, my wives were waiting, looking completely anxious. The exact second they saw me, they instantly ambushed me. So what did Mayan want? Was it about Mon? And who was that she saw you with last night? Bro, these two are way too sharp. They literally pieced together the exact scenario from a single private conversation. I quickly threw on a casual smile. Nah, nothing like that. She just needed some medicine for a private medical issue. Instantly, both sisters visibly deflated with relief. Oh, is that all?
Man, I am sorry. Megan.
I basically just told my wife you have a nasty rash. You'd literally kill me if you found out, but it was either that, or letting her think you're helping me plot my next double homicide. Just then, old Huang Manchong came trotting over, clutching something mysterious in his hand. I took a closer look and almost did a literal spit take. It was another wild ginseng, a bit smaller than the first one, but still easily a solid 20 to 30 years old, which meant this thing was still worth an absolute fortune. Hey kiddo, down for another meat lump? He grinned. Does a bear want honey? Let's take this inside, I said, dragging him straight through the door before he could flash that priceless root to anyone else. He held up the ginseng proudly, eyes gleaming. How about 9 copper coins this time? 1 less than last time, since it's a little smaller. 9 coins. He literally discounted a legendary miracle medicine, just because it was slightly smaller in size. This man just gave me a volume discount on premium ginseng. Xiao leaned over to Z and whispered under her breath. Wait, didn't you say ginseng is supposed to be crazy expensive? Why is this one only 9 coins? Z shushed her so fast she nearly slapped her own mouth shut. I quickly paid the man his 9 coins, and he walked away grinning, like he had just pulled off the hustle of the century. Then I called out after him, "Yo, Huang, are there any more of these up on the mountain? Because if this man has been casually walking past a whole ginseng forest every single day on his way to chop firewood, I am about to become the undisputed richest man in this entire damn dynasty." While old Huang was hyped about his petty 9-coin profit, I told him to bring me every single meat lump he could find. But keep it completely on the low. Stuff it in your waistband. Don't show a soul. And make sure you dig up all the roots. He nodded eagerly, stepped out my door, and muttered to himself, "Suckers. Definitely got way more money than brains. Bro literally just sold me a down payment on a mansion. For the price of pocket change. But sure, go ahead and call me the sucker." Z carefully examined the wild ginseng, staring at it like a jeweler inspecting a flawless diamond. "This could easily fetch hundreds of silver coins at the market," she whispered, eyes wide. "At the very least. But we're keeping it. We're gonna brew it into tea." Both sisters just stared at me, completely dumbfounded. Think about it. Just a year ago, a few hundred coins was an impossible, life-changing fortune. For them. Now, I'm casually telling them, "Nah, let's just eat it." Their entire reality had been completely shattered and rebuilt. In just 3 days, I grabbed my repeating crossbow, loaded up 30 lethal bolts, and headed out toward the mountain. Z and Xiao Wu followed me all the way to the door, running their usual worried wife protocol. "Please be careful. Come back to us safe. Okay?" I know. Go back inside." Honestly, the mountain was gorgeous. Warm, dappled sunlight filtering through, the crisp scent of pine, and birds chirping in the distance. Pure peace. Super zen. The exact kind of beautiful place where you instantly forget that you brutally took down 2 guys last night and have another high-stakes assassination scheduled for tonight. Suddenly, I spotted Linger just ahead of me. She was creeping through the trees like some pint-sized secret agent, glancing around suspiciously before darting straight toward the stream. What is this girl cooking up? I stealthily trailed behind her. She reached the water's edge and, without a single second thought, stripped completely naked and dove right in. Oh no! A terrifying realization hit me. This stream is incredibly deep. Like 2 giant bamboo poles deep, and literally nobody in this entire backwater village knows how to swim. Sure enough, within seconds, "Help! Save me! He!" Desperate, gurgling splashes echoed. I sprinted to the bank. There she was, pale skin flashing frantically in the water, sinking like a stone, coughing up bubbles. No time to be a gentleman, no time to hesitate. I ripped thick vines off a nearby tree, tying one end securely to a heavy trunk, and the other around my waist. Because unlike these ancient medieval peasants, I actually know how to survive in deep water. I lunged forward and dove. Underwater, I snatched her hand and kicked off a submerged boulder, to launch us both screaming back to the surface. Gasp! The exact millisecond we broke the surface, Linger went into full-blown survival mode panic. She latched onto me like a terrified, hyperactive octopus, locking her arms completely around my head, and straight up smothered my face into her chest. Suddenly, I couldn't breathe, and not because of the river water. No, I was being aggressively suffocated by the plot. The exact same plot I'd been trying not to stare at. For 3 straight days, the universe genuinely has a sick sense of humor. She was gasping and hyperventilating right on top of my head, while I frantically reached out for a vine, and dragged both of us toward the shore, operating on 0 oxygen, and dealing with a face full of premium distraction. Once we finally hit the muddy bank, she grabbed some grass and let go. I grabbed her by the hips and legs, purely for medical leverage, obviously, and pushed, pulled, and hauled her onto dry land. She immediately collapsed on all 4s, coughing up water for a solid minute. When she finally looked up and saw me standing there, she threw herself back into my arms, sobbing, "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to almost drown you." I gently held her at arm's length and looked down. "Linger. If you don't put some clothes on in the next 30 seconds, the entire village is going to get a free show." She looked down at herself, instantly panicked, and slapped her hands over her body, which did absolutely nothing, given the sheer volume of what she was trying to cover. She stomped her foot, shrieked, "Stop looking. and bolted straight into the bushes to get dressed. Did I keep looking? Strictly for safety purposes. I had to ensure she wasn't injured, you see. Just a very thorough medical assessment. And yup, she's a 10 out of 10. Finally, she stepped out fully clothed, completely mortified. Your clothes are soaking wet because of me. I'll dry them. But why were you even bathing here? In water deep enough to drown an elephant? All the shallow spots were crowded, she mumbled. I didn't think it was this deep here. Wait, were you seriously spying on me? If I hadn't been spying on you, you'd be fish food right now. She had absolutely zero comeback for that one. Stammering, she offered to dry my clothes, and led me to a nearby cave. She quickly built a fire like a seasoned survival expert. The cave was damp and freezing, and I was soaked down to my bones. Look, medically speaking, rocking wet clothes is a one-way ticket to rheumatism. Super scientific, I know. So, naturally, I stripped down to my boxers. Just me, chilling in a cave in my underwear, right next to a teenage blacksmith girl, who was blushing so insanely hard. She could have heated this whole cave without the fire. Meanwhile, Z was probably out there telling Xiao Wu that I was up on the mountain picking herbs. Technically true, I just hadn't actually started yet. Linger snuck a glance at me and looked away so fast. She almost gave herself severe whiplash. Ears bright red, nervously fidgeting with her clothes, staring glued to the floor, like gravity had suddenly targeted her neck. I took a step closer. Do I look like a caveman or something? And no, don't come any closer. Then what do I look like? She backed straight into the cave wall with nowhere to run. I didn't look. She snatched my shirt and immediately started drying it over the fire, with the sheer intensity of someone defusing a bomb. So, I sat down with my pants and started drying those, too. 2 people, 1 fire, and barely any clothes. The vibe in this cave was easily 10,000%. More awkward than any situation I'd ever faced in both of my lifetimes combined. Props to her, though. She desperately changed the subject. The bandits are coming in 4 days. They're coming to take our food and kidnap the girls.
I'm terrified.
Okay, that killed the mood instantly. Suddenly, the original E-Ways memories came flooding back into my brain. These weren't some petty pickpockets. These guys were literal monsters. When they raided a village, they slaughtered people just to send a message. If families tried to hide, they'd burn their homes and crops, and hunt the survivors down like animals in the mountains. They'd mutilate the captured men, chopping off their hands, feet, and tongues, leaving them to bleed out. And the women, they'd pass them around the entire gang, until they literally prayed for death. Wild wolves were practically puppies compared to these psychopaths. Don't sweat it, I said, thumping my chest confidently. You've got me. She looked up, full of doubt. I promise you, you're safe. She stared deep into my eyes, trying to see if I was just bluffing. But whatever she saw in them must have reassured her. She finally smiled. Okay, if you say so. I believe you, she said, before her eyes immediately darted down to my underwear. Her knees instantly locked together in sheer panic. Honestly, you could probably hear her heartbeat from outer space. Take those off too. I'll dry them for you. Wait, excuse me? She hastily shoved the dried shirt into my hands to cover myself. Your pants are still soaking wet, anyway. So picture this. There I am, standing bare in a cave, literally using a t-shirt as a makeshift loincloth, while this teenage girl is drying my underwear over an open flame. With hands shaking uncontrollably and a face blushing as red as a tomato, she handed them back to me while looking completely away. Put them on, quick! Trust me, I dressed at literal world record speed. We quickly put out the fire and continued our trek up the mountain. Just a normal, totally regular day. Absolutely nothing weird happened here, let's move on. As we climbed higher, Linger kept scanning our surroundings nervously. My sister-in-law had mentioned that the wolves had fled deep into the mountain peaks. And looks like she was spot on. There wasn't a single trace of wolves anywhere, which was great news for us. Suddenly, a wild rabbit popped out of a bush. Boom! I nailed it instantly with my crossbow. 1 shot, clean headshot. Got it! Linger bolted forward to retrieve it like an excited golden retriever. Right after that, a wild pheasant appeared. 1 precise bolt and it was pinned straight to the ground. Then came more rabbits, more pheasants, and even a fox. I was literally racking up kills like a video game. Talk about an absolute speedrun. 4 rabbits, 3 pheasants, and a whole fox. And we had barely been walking for 20 minutes. Linger was completely baffled. How are there so many animals out here? My sister-in-law always said. This entire perimeter had been hunted clean years ago. But then it clicked. The wolves retreating into the deeper mountains had completely flushed all the small game right down to us. The entire ecosystem had literally reshuffled in our favor. This mountain was basically behaving like a free supermarket. At this point, we were both carrying so much massive haul that we could barely even walk. That's when Qin Xiao, Long Mayant's incredibly annoying little brother, came stumbling down from the upper paths of the mountain. Man, he looked rough. His face was entirely scratched up, and his right hand was dangling at a completely wrong angle, looking just like a snapped branch. He had zero game on him, despite supposedly hunting all day long, and he was noticeably limping. He glared directly at me with pure hostility. "What on earth happened to your hand?" Linger asked, but he just muttered, "Nothing." He scoffed, brushing past us with zero respect. But then he froze, turning back to Langer. "There's an absolute beast of a tiger up there. You need to head down right now." "A tiger?" Dude literally ran into a massive tiger deep in the mountains, lost all his gear and managed to dislocate his wrist. Just trying to escape. Talk about looking for trouble. And boy, did trouble find him in the form of 500 pounds of pure muscle and stripes. Langer's face lost all color as she clung to my arm, like I was her personal meat shield. "So, where exactly is this tiger?" I called out to him. He whipped around, glaring. "Why the hell should I tell you? Because if you do, I'll pop that wrist back into place. Call it a medical courtesy." I immediately locked into serious doctor mode. "Your joint is completely popped out, and your circulation is practically choked off. If you don't get this treated right away, even if it eventually heals up, that hand is going to be completely useless. No hunting, no holding chopsticks, nothing. It's over." Okay. I was laying it on a little thick, but his face instantly went pale. He stared at his limp hand in absolute horror. Langer chimed in. "Just let him help you. He's literally a genius." Xiao Long scoffed. "Even if he can fix it, why would he ever help me?" That's when Langer went full mama bear mode. "If you keep disrespecting him like this, we are officially done. No more custom weapons from my shop. No more favors. Nothing." Oof, that hit him right in the wallet. The guy had been mooching off Langer's top-tier gear for absolutely free. Cutting off that supply chain would literally ruin his hunting career. He gritted his teeth. "Fine. Do it. Just make it quick." I gave him a cold stare, then pointed straight at the dirt. "On your knees, and ask me nicely." His face went from furious to absolutely murderous, and finally to completely defeated. Watching him break was beautiful. This punk had spent weeks telling everyone I was dead, tried to steal credit for the wolves I hunted, actually tried to throw hands, and talk trash about me to anyone who'd listen. And now he had to beg me for help. Karma really is a beautiful thing. And today, Karma's name is Yue.